Boston 25 Morning News. It's 8 a.m. I'm Julianne Lima in for Crystal Haynes. We're going to get a check right now of the forecast with meteorologist Vicki Graff. Vicki, it is not looking great today.
No, and that's why we're on a weather alert. So the main concern for today is going to be some areas of flooding, some flash flooding. We have a flood watch in effect for most of the area. This goes through tonight. The exception is parts of the South Shore, Cape and Islands, where we are expecting some heavy rain, but the ground isn't quite as saturated as other areas where we've had just some immense rainfall over the past couple of days and even weeks. Right now, I'm tracking some heavy rain moving in across the area. In fact, we do have a flash flood warning in effect for Cheshire County as well as Hillsborough County here in southern New Hampshire. This goes through 11:30 this morning. We're seeing some intense rainfall rates at about 1 to 2 inches per hour, and that's already on top of a very saturated ground. So this is going to lead to some flooding concerns here, tracking some really heavy rain moving across Keene, Rindge, Hillsborough, near Manchester as well. There's also some lightning within these, so heads up with that. This is not the type of rain you want to be driving through. It's just blinding rain because it's coming down so intense and so quickly. Along 495, seeing some really heavy rain here from Framingham up towards Lowell, and putting a tracker on this really intense batch of rain. That's approaching Bedford by 8:10, Billerica by 8:23, Lowell 8:33, Drake at 8:43, Pelham by 8:54, Lawrence 9:08, and Salem, New Hampshire by 9:21. I'll have a closer look at the other weather concerns we're going to face today coming up. Julianne?
All right, thank you, Vicki. And you can stay up to date with the weather with the Boston 25 weather app. You'll be able to find any updates to the forecast at any time. Police are investigating a tragedy in Winchester. A 17-year-old boy drowned in the Upper Mystic Lake last night. Members of the Stoneham Fire Department dive team recovered his body just before 8 p.m. State police say the teen had been swimming with a group outside of the lake's designated swim zone. And new this morning, everyone is okay after fire damaged a home in Kingston. This was the scene on Walter Fonts Road early this morning. Crews say someone inside the home reported the fire around 1:25 a.m. We're told the fire likely started in or close to the vent fan in a second-floor bathroom. Flames eventually stretched all the way up to the attic. Kingston's fire chief says it took crews just 25 minutes to get that fire under control.
We did go to a second alarm because of the heat as well as the amount of fire that we had within the structure. We had 4 towns assist us.
And the family who lives in this house will be temporarily staying with relatives. Meanwhile, crews are investigating a late-night transformer fire in Brookline. It happened on Griggs Road. Firefighters did encounter a problem once they arrived at that scene.
The transformer was on fire. We had to wait until all the power was shut down before we could put some water on it. We were concerned with the voltage and also possible harmful chemicals in there. So once the power was shut off, we were able to quickly put the fire out.
And people who live nearby were told to keep their windows shut because of the smoke. Thankfully, no one was hurt. State police say a pilot suffered a heart attack while trying to land his plane at Martha's Vineyard Airport. It happened just after 3 p.m. yesterday. State police say a woman who was a passenger took the controls and tried to land the small plane herself. It resulted in a hard landing that caused the plane's left wing to break off. The 79-year-old pilot was flown to a Boston hospital in serious, life-threatening condition. The woman was treated and released from a local hospital. Multiple agencies, including state police and the FAA, are now investigating. Malden police are searching for a missing 14-year-old girl. Her name is Nalia Spencer Craddock. Police say she was last seen leaving her home in Malden Thursday afternoon. Her family tells Boston 25 they just want her home safe and sound.
So far, we've had the police and detectives involved. Nobody has any sightings of her. I'm just concerned, as being her grandmother, where my grandbaby is, because this is unusual for her to stay out anytime she goes out, she comes right back home. She never stays out. And this time she left her phone in the home.
Police say the 14-year-old has ties to Boston. If you've seen her, call Malden police immediately. Boston police have released new surveillance images of the man accused of stealing a truck with a baby inside. Officers are looking for this man. These are clearer pictures than what we previously saw. Police say the man stole the truck on Geneva Avenue in Dorchester on Friday. You can see in this surveillance video, the man was on a bike, but hopped off it and jumped into the truck when a couple and their 2-year-old got out. The man then drove away while that baby was still inside. More surveillance footage shows the truck returning moments later and that man dropping the baby off on the sidewalk. Boston 25 was the only station there when the baby girl was reunited with her relieved mother. Officers later found the truck about a mile away from the scene. Happening today, a memorial service will be held for the 7-year-old girl whose body was found in the Merrimack River in Tewksbury last week. The service for Anna Muburu is set to be held at PCA Nema Church on Coburn Street in Lowell. It's set to begin at 3 p.m. Crews found the young girl's body on Monday, about 24 hours after launching a massive search effort. Anna, who had autism and was nonverbal, disappeared from her driveway of her Lowell home. Police are investigating after 3 people were stabbed in Boston. Investigators say one of them has life-threatening injuries. It happened just before noon yesterday on Southampton Street. That's right near BU's medical campus. Police have not made any arrests. A New Hampshire man is scheduled to be in court tomorrow, charged with second-degree murder in the death of another man. Somersworth police were called to the Walmart on Walton's Way Friday night. There, they found 79-year-old Jan Van Tassel unresponsive with visible head and face injuries. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect, 52-year-old Brian Roberge, was arrested. He'll be arraigned in Stratford County Superior Court tomorrow. Representative James McGovern says lawmakers will work to help farmers impacted by the recent flooding in the western part of the state. The Congressman and Senator Elizabeth Warren were among those who toured the damage yesterday. Representative McGovern posted these pictures on Twitter. The group visited farms in Hadley and Deerfield. And water rescue teams from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and other states have been working long hours to help people in flood-ravaged Vermont. Hundreds of rescues have been reported there in recent days.
Throughout the last week, rescue crews have been hard at work in Vermont's hardest hit areas. In this video, captured in Northfield, a resident escaping rising floodwaters is seen getting pulled into a rescue boat and taken away from danger. This video, captured by the Vermont Urban Search and Rescue Team, shows crews from New Hampshire wading through ripping floodwaters to get to a woman stranded in her car.
One of the teams from Bedford made an unbelievable rescue of a woman in a car next to a river that, if that team hadn't been there, she would have died for sure.
Michael Cannon is the program manager for Vermont's Urban Search and Rescue Team. He was responsible for coordinating and bringing in teams from around the country to support rescue efforts during peak flooding. He says over the course of the week, more than 200 rescues were performed.
We're really proud of those numbers. We're proud of the people that we're able to bring in. They were very passionate about doing what they did for the state, whether it was an out-of-state team or an in-state team.
Cannon says when Tropical Storm Irene reached Vermont in 2011, the state had roughly a quarter of the total resources on hand than they had during this storm.
Without the folks that were doing the rescues, I am nothing without the folks doing the rescue. We coordinated here, but it was the men and women that were on the scene doing the rescues. Those are the people that we need to be proud of, right?
And at least one person was killed in the flooding. President Biden has declared a federal disaster in Vermont. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg will travel there to survey the damage tomorrow. Hollywood actors and writers are on the picket line together this weekend. The Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild have joined up to form picket lines outside multiple movie studios. Actors went on strike Friday after their union failed to reach a new labor contract with studios. Both unions are upset over compensation when it comes to movies and shows that are on streaming services like Netflix. This is the first time actors and screenwriters have been on strike at the same time in more than 60 years. Productions that require scripted content are now shut down until agreements are reached. Well, another drawing and still no jackpot winner. No one matched all 6 numbers in the latest Powerball drawing, so that means the top prize is now nearly $1 billion. So while there were no jackpot winners, a couple of tickets sold in Massachusetts did win $50,000 in last night's drawing. One of those tickets was sold at Sandry Convenience Store out in Northampton. The other was sold at Edgemere Mini Mart in Worcester. So are you a winner of a smaller prize? Well, get out your tickets. Let's take a look. Last night's winning numbers are 2, 9, 43, 55, 57, and the Powerball 18. Tomorrow's drawing is expected to have a jackpot worth about $900 million. How about that? And you'll also have a chance to strike it rich on Tuesday when the next Mega Millions drawing takes place. The jackpot for that is expected to be about $640 million. Not too shabby. Well, players for the local Major League Rugby team probably feel like they've hit the lottery since bringing home the title. Coming up, we'll bring you highlights from the New England Free Jacks championship celebration in Quincy, and we'll tell you how they kept the party going even after wrapping up yesterday's rally.
Talking about the weather concerns for today, the top issue will be some flooding across the area, including flash flooding. We also are watching for some thunderstorms, packing some lightning, possibly some damaging wind, and an isolated tornado. I'll break down the biggest weather concerns and what time that rain and storm will arrive where you.
I have a gruesome, they say, is no. But
Welcome back. Family fun in Roxbury this weekend as part of an open streets event. The city closed a portion of Blue Hill Avenue so people could explore the neighborhood. There were lots of activities for families, including games, face painting, fitness classes, even a DJ battle. Yesterday was the second of 5 open streets events this year. The next one is scheduled for mid-August in Alston-Brighton. And Vicki is here now. Vicki, it's a good thing that open streets event was yesterday. Today, it's going to be tough to get out with all the storms in the forecast.
Exactly. So it's looking pretty dicey today. Luckily, yesterday we did manage to squeeze in some sunshine, but also a couple of pop-ups. Right now, we have some really heavy rain that's moving in across the area. So flash flood warnings already in effect across parts of southern New Hampshire. The problem is the ground is already so saturated from recent rain. And then on top of that, we're tracking some downpours moving through today that are producing some really intense rainfall rates. So this water is just piling up quickly. I want to make sure that you're aware of the flooding concerns for today. Never drive over a road that's covered in water. You just don't know how deep that water is. And rain is not the only concern that we're watching. So temperatures right now mid to upper 70s. It's not going to be the warmest of days, but when you step outside, you can feel just how much moisture is available in the atmosphere. And that's what's leading to the downpour potential that we will see at times today. And this rain is going to be coming down so intense at times, it makes it really tough to drive through this kind of rainfall. Storms are also a concern we're watching for today. In fact, this area in yellow represents an elevated concern for some severe weather. We're talking about damaging wind, which it won't take a really strong gust of wind to knock down some trees today just because the ground is so saturated. But we also have an elevated risk for tornadoes today for a part of Massachusetts. This is something we will be watching over the next couple of hours. And I've been chatting with the National Weather Service, and it does look like there will likely be a tornado watch issued. I will get you that information as soon as it is put out there. As far as the next couple of hours go, this is the time frame that I want to make sure you're weather aware. We'll have some heavier rain, but also the risk for some strong, maybe even severe thunderstorms. It's a good time if you have to head out on the roads. Just make sure you're getting severe weather updates with our Boston 25 weather app. Things will ease up later this afternoon. We're still not in the clear, though. More downpours, more storms in the forecast through this evening, and eventually this is going to be winding down overnight tonight. So I don't see as many issues as you're heading back to work tomorrow morning, with the exception of some lingering rainfall across parts of the Cape and Islands. As far as the rainfall forecast goes for today, it's going to be a soaking rain. We're talking about 1 to even 3 inches of rainfall here, but there will be a pocket where we could easily see 3 to 4 inches of rain, maybe even more than that in some areas across parts of central Massachusetts on into Connecticut and western Mass as well. So flooding, again, the top threat, but still I can't rule out some thunderstorms that are on the strong, possibly severe side. Temperatures only in the upper 70s today, but we have so much available moisture out there that's fuel for some of these strong, severe thunderstorms. We also have a little bit of shear out there, which is why we had that risk for some isolated tornadoes. Tonight, things will be winding down. We're back to sunshine tomorrow, near 90 degrees for some spots. But after we get through the weather alert today, this week isn't looking too bad. In fact, the humidity starts to go back down by Wednesday. So did the temperatures, but we're looking ahead to more showers and possible storms by Friday and Saturday later this week. Julianne?
All right, thank you, Vicki. 48 states already ban people from distributing sexual images of someone else without their permission. As you can see from this map, the only states without revenge porn laws are South Carolina and Massachusetts. Boston 25 News wanted to know why lawmakers here haven't acted when officials in other states have. Anchor Carrie Kavanaugh sat down with a local victim who says survivors need accountability.
I felt like a stab to the heart. I felt like everything went black.
Alex Hegarty says it was strangers who messaged him about sexually explicit videos of him on a popular social media site several years ago. And that's when he realized a former partner not only had taken videos without his consent, but posted them as well.
The posting happened after we broke up.
It's called revenge porn, or non-consensual porn. It's when a sexually graphic image of you is shared without your consent.
You go to the police, you lay out your story, and what did you find out?
Revenge porn is legal in Massachusetts, that somebody can use revenge porn as a way to destroy somebody's character and utterly destroy their life.
And face no legal consequences.
Correct. And at the time when it happened to me, Massachusetts was one of 13 states that did not have laws banning revenge porn.
Now Massachusetts is one of just 2 states without a revenge porn law on the books. Alex said he felt so much shame and embarrassment he contemplated taking his own life. But now,
Ms. Justberg, any public announcements?
the Abington Selectman says he's speaking out so other survivors know they're not alone.
There is a day after when this happens to you. Your vengeful abuser does not win.
The impact on survivors is very much in line with and consistent with the trauma experienced by sexual assault survivors when they talk about the violation.
Hema Sarang-Saminsky is deputy director of Jane Doe, Inc., a coalition against sexual assault and domestic violence. She says this deep violation of trust is happening to kids, too.
Sometimes these things are circulated within moments across an entire class or school.
Why is Massachusetts trailing behind nearly every other state?
I think it is that partially due that a lot of people don't speak out about it, even though it's very common.
As many as 1 in 12 adult social media users have been victims of non-consensual pornography, according to the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative.
I think it's time to act. We should not be an outlier on this.
State Senator John Keane has filed legislation to legally go after anyone who knowingly distributes visual material.
And I'm interrupting Carrie's package there because we do now have a tornado warning, and this is for parts of central Essex County as well as northeastern Middlesex County. And this goes until 8:45. I was just talking about that storm potential today, some severe storms possible with some rotation within them. And that's what we're seeing right now across parts of our area. So we have this thunderstorm that is looking like it has a little bit of rotation within it, and that's closer to Acton right now. So if you're in this area, I want to make sure you're staying inside, stay away from the windows, and go to a safe place in your house, which is likely the lowest level of your house, a basement, but just put as many walls between you and the outside. So I just want to take a closer look at this storm right now on our radar, and this is just coming in right now. So again, this is for parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. This goes until 8:45, but this is a tornado warning, and I'm going to use a tool that lets me look at the wind flow inside of this. It shows me the winds going towards and away from the radar site, and that's how we get an idea of where the rotation could be. So this is right now between Maynard and Acton. This is right close to Route 27. If you're in that area, I want to make sure that you're seeking shelter inside. This is not the time to be driving out on the roads. And also, because the rainfall is coming down so intense in this area right now, it's going to be tough to see any tornado if it develops, if it actually reaches the surface right now. So again, this is a tornado warning in effect for parts of Middlesex and Essex counties until 8:45. If you got an alert on your phone, this is what we are tracking right now. I'm looking through this right now through a velocity tool, which shows me where we're likely seeing that rotation. I'm just going to clear this and take a closer look at some of these streets. And if I list off some of these streets and you're in this area, in the Acton area right now, I want to make sure you are seeking shelter inside, stay away from windows, go to the lowest level of your house. This is close to Route 27 right now. This is near Newtown Road, Concord Road, Putnam Road, Brook Street, and this is in the Acton area right now. It's also closer to Nagog Hill Road. So these are some places that I want to make sure that if you're in this area right now, you are inside, stay away from windows, wait for this storm to pass. This is east of 495 right now. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see where this storm is. It was moving just away from Maynard right now. So Maynard, if you got an alert on your cell phone, maybe alerting you of this tornado warning, it is moving towards the Acton area right now. And I'm going to put a tracker on this to show you what communities I'm most concerned with next as this storm continues to move generally off to the northeast. Carlisle will be in that path by 8:39. This is a fast moving storm, and it's really packing some heavy rain contained within it. And what we're tracking right now are some storms that are developing that have what we call a little bit of rotation within them. I'm going to take this velocity tool again just to look at some of the winds within this storm as it's moving generally off to the northeast pretty quickly. So bear with me here as I get my tools ready. But again, if you're just tuning in right now and you're in the Acton area, if you're in parts of Middlesex or Essex counties and you got an alert directly to your cell phone, we have a tornado warning in effect. This goes until 8:45. The area I'm most concerned with right now, this is for parts of Acton. It's near Route 117, east of 495 right now. And this storm is moving fairly quickly. Just to give you an idea, the tornado warning is for parts of west central Essex County, northeastern Middlesex County. It goes until 8:45. The storm itself is moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. I also want to include some mentions of other places that could be in the path of this storm, eventually heading towards Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, Westford, Acton, Concord, Bedford, Groton, Littleton, and Carlisle. Those could be closer to you by about 8:25. So let me take a closer look. And we are also just seeing a tornado watch issued for part of the area as well. But the storm I'm most concerned with, this is a tornado warning. We were talking about the possibility of some storms that contain some rotation today, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now closer to the Acton area. This is a fast-moving storm too, so it's going from Acton eventually heading closer to, say, Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you are in any of those towns or communities that I just mentioned, now is the time to seek that shelter in a safe place in your home. So it could be a basement, a closet, a bathroom. Typically keep as many walls between you and the outside and avoid windows. But this tornado warning goes into effect until 8:45, and this is for parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. We're tracking more storms. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit and show you we still have a long way to go. So you can see more storms to our west, and that entire line is going to be moving from west to east. And now a tornado watch is in effect for parts of our area. I'm going to just query this so you can see this is for central and northeastern Massachusetts. This tornado watch goes into effect until 3 o'clock. But the storm that I am most concerned with right now, this is a tornado warning, which means that this is likely occurring right now. This tornado warning is in effect for parts of Middlesex and also Essex counties. I'm going to take a closer look at this tornado warning so you can see the area I'm most concerned with right now. This is near the Acton area, heading towards Westford, Lowell, Billerica. Those are some of the areas within this path, 495. This is not the time to be driving out on the roads if you're in any of these areas right now, because not only are we seeing torrential rain, which will make it tough to see any tornado should it be occurring, but also blinding rain. That's going to be a big concern that we will face as we go throughout the day today. So I also will be monitoring to see if there are any damage reports coming through. I have not heard of any right now, and I'm also in touch with the newsroom, so they will be hearing of anything that might be coming through. But this is for the potential for a storm that is occurring, possibly seeing a tornado within this. We're dealing with quite a bit of some shear today, and that means that there's a lot of rotation out there in the atmosphere. So if we get a storm that develops, we could potentially be dealing with a tornado situation, which is why we have this tornado warning right now. I'm going to go back and use this tool that shows me where we're seeing that rotation, and this is moving right over Acton right now. So if you're in the Acton area, I want to make sure that you are seeking shelter in the lowest level of your home. Right now, we're looking at parts of Route 27. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you can see just some of the street levels, some of the areas I'm most concerned with. Nagog Hill Road, Newtown Road, we're looking at Hayward Road, Simon Willard Road, Partridge Pond Road, Greenwood Lane, Strawberry Hill, and this is in the Acton area. These are some of the streets that I'm most concerned with where there could potentially be a tornado moving over you right now. I'm also just double checking to see if there could be any other storms out there that could be leading to some rotation. We have some flood warnings in effect. A tornado watch was issued for part of our area right now, but the storm that I'm most concerned with, this is over the Acton area. This is where we have a tornado warning, and this goes through 8:45. And this is a fast-moving storm. We're dealing with torrential rain within this area, right along 119, 110. This includes parts of 495. So if you're in this area right now, I want to make sure you are not hitting the roads. This is not the time to be driving. This storm is moving fairly quickly to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. And I'm going to put a tracker on this area rotation that I've been watching just to show you where this could be heading next. So if I call out your town, now's the time to make sure that you are going to a safe place in your house. This would include Carlisle by 8:38, Riverside 8:47, Chelmsford by 8:54, and Lowell by 9:06, give or take, but those are heading to your area next. So make sure you're inside, away from windows, go to the lowest level of your house. We're dealing with some storms that are developing today, and some of these are popping up fairly quickly, but we also still have a main line of storms to our west. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see just torrential rain. I know there are a lot of colors on here right now, and I'm just going to take away the layer that shows me the watches and the warnings so you can see where the strongest storms are right now. We have the tornado warning in effect for parts of Middlesex and Essex counties. Right now, that storm, I'm watching it over Acton, but we still have a long way to go with this. So there are some storms developing across the western part of the state. That entire line is going to move from west to east. We do have the concern for tornadoes today, and that's why I'm talking about this tornado warning right now that goes through 8:45 for parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. But we're also watching that flooding concern. We've had so much rain recently. The ground is so saturated. So flash flooding will remain a concern through this afternoon. And we're also watching that concern, that risk for an isolated tornado. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some trees falling down today because the ground is so saturated. It's not going to take a strong gust of wind to cause more issues there. I am just going to, so right now, just talking with my producer here, there could potentially be this tornado developing right on top of Acton right now. And what we're seeing with the velocity tool right now is just the rotation within that. Let me see if I can switch this tool to show you another thing that we watch to see if there could be any debris aloft above the surface. So it basically picks up on anything that could be falling, any tornado activity. So bear with me. Getting reports from our meteorologist, Sherry Spear, that there could be a possible touchdown in Acton, where I've been saying there is that concern here. And so this is another tool that I'm using. This is called correlation coefficient, but basically this tells me if there could be any debris aloft. And that's what we're seeing north of the Acton area. So this is the storm that I'm most concerned with right now. It's starting to go from Acton and it's moving north. It's heading towards Carlisle, Westford, right along parts of 119 and 225. So if you're in these areas, I want to make sure you seek shelter. There's actually another tornado warning that was just issued, and this is for Hillsborough County, Merrimack County. So these storms also moving into southern New Hampshire. Bear with me while I zoom out, and I'm just going to be reading this as it's coming in and as I'm continuing to track these storms. So this is for parts of southern New Hampshire. I'm going to just query this right now as it's coming through. So this is another new tornado warning. This is for northwestern Rockingham County in southern New Hampshire, east central Hillsborough County in southern New Hampshire, southeastern Merrimack County in southern central New Hampshire. This goes until 9 o'clock. This is another area that I'm watching, and just some towns that could be impacted in this include Chester, Pembroke, and Londonderry. So if I'm listing off towns where you are, again, make sure you're seeking shelter. Wait for this storm to pass. I'm going to just remove this and take a look at that velocity tool, because that basically tells me where we're dealing with potential rotation within this storm. Let me zoom out just a second here. So bear with me. So this is a new tornado warning, and this is for parts of Rockingham County, Hillsborough, and Merrimack County, and this is in southern and central New Hampshire. Just taking a look at what we have here. So I'm seeing a little bit of rotation potentially right now. This could be closer to the Manchester area, Derry, New Hampshire. So listing off some towns there. I want to make sure that you're seeking shelter inside. Stay away from windows if you're in the path of this storm right now. And this is moving very quickly as well. This is moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So this is another tornado warning. This goes until 9 o'clock. I'm just going to switch gears here and pull up the other tornado warning that we're tracking. This goes still for another 13 minutes. But this storm across southern New Hampshire, we're tracking right now, but we're also still dealing with this tornado warning across parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. This storm right now, and there's potential that this has touched down near the Acton area. This is still preliminary, so we will wait until we get more damage reports coming through. But this tornado warning right now, this is in effect through 8:45, and this includes parts of, this is likely heading towards Chelmsford, Carlisle, and it is producing a little bit of rotation within this. So this is the storm that I'm concerned with as well. This tornado warning goes until 8:45. And one thing that I've been noticing is this rain is coming down so intense right now. So it could be really tough to see if there is an actual tornado that is developing. So that's why if you're in this area, I just want to make sure you're seeking shelter in the lowest level of your home. This is closer to Route 27 right now. This is near the Carlisle area, approaching Westford. It's heading towards Lowell. It will be passing over 495 here soon. So this tornado warning, this goes into effect through 8:45. This includes parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. I'm just going to pop that up. So if you're in this area, what I want you to do is maybe go to that safe place in your home, take your Boston 25 weather app with you on your cell phone, and you can hear my voice as I'm talking about these storms. I will let you know when you're in the clear, but this is something we'll be monitoring. I'm just going to switch gears here, and I'm going to check. We're in contact with the National Weather Service. I'm going to look at my other computer here and just see if there are any reports coming through of any damage coming in so far. So far, it does not look like we have any reports of that damage, but that's something that I will continue to watch. There are some damage reports coming in from the storm that is over New Hampshire, so I'm going to go back to this one. This is a tornado warning for parts of Hillsborough, Merrimack, Rockingham, New Hampshire. That goes until 9 o'clock, and there is a storm report coming through from Manchester, New Hampshire, of trees down on Willow Street. So that gives you an idea of we are dealing with some damage reports coming through. We could continue to see more because these storms are possibly producing tornadoes here. So we're seeing some rotation within these storms. We still have several more hours and more storms heading our way. So I just want to make sure that you're weather aware as we go throughout the day today. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. I realize there are a lot of colors right now on our radar, and that's a sign that we have some torrential rain moving through. We have a lot of alerts going on right now. 2 tornado warnings that I continue to track across parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. These storms are moving very quickly. So right now, the area I'm most concerned with, this is closer to Westford and Carlisle. I'm just going to zoom in on some areas where I was noticing some of that rotation here. And I'm going to pull up a tool here that I have as well. This gives you an idea. This is between Westford and Carlisle. So this is near Griffin Road. It's also near Vose Road, Garrison Road, 2nd Lane. It's near Tedmuck Road. So this is closer to the Westford and Carlisle area. This is about to pass over 495. This is not the time to be out on the roads as this is moving through. And this is heading towards Chelmsford. So you will be getting hit with this storm next. It's potentially leading to a tornado on the ground. So this is something that we need to take seriously. If you're not familiar with tornadoes around here, tornado warnings tell us that these storms are moving through right now, and a tornado could potentially be happening as this storm is moving through right now. A tornado watch also issued for part of our area. And this goes through 3 o'clock this afternoon. So that includes parts of central Massachusetts, northeastern Massachusetts. So if you're in some of these areas, I want you to be prepared as these storms are approaching. This tornado warning, this is for parts of southern New Hampshire, and I'm just going to take a look at it. I'm using this tool on my cell phone right now just to get an idea. This is closer to the Auburn area. I'm not seeing as much of a defined rotation within this storm, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a tornado that could potentially be happening. So again, take this seriously. If you're in the Auburn area, right along parts of 101, 107, those are some of the areas that could be hit with this storm next, eventually heading towards Deerfield. And we're seeing torrential rain with these storms. So that is a concern, because these storms, it might be tough to see a tornado if it is in fact touching the ground right now. So I just want to make sure that you're prepared in case these storms are moving through. I'm switching back here to the tornado warning that we're tracking here. Bear with me right now. This is for this is in between Westford and Carlisle right now, and this storm is showing signs of rotation here. I'm seeing what we call a couplet, so it's likely some tight rotation, so a tornado could be forming on the ground right now closer to Westford and Carlisle. Also right along 495, it's heading towards Lowell. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more. So if you're near Garrison Road, Reed Road, Pine Hill Road, Princeton Way, Elm Street, and you're in the Carlisle area, if you're close to Westford, if you're near Chelmsford, I want to make sure you're going to the lowest level of your house, maybe a basement, maybe a bathroom. Stay away from windows. Take your cell phone with you so you can still listen to my voice, listen to some of these roads I'm calling out. So if you're in this area, I want to make sure you're staying safe and seeking shelter until the storm passes. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more and just show you an idea of where this storm is moving. It is likely approaching Chelmsford and Lowell next, but the places that I've been watching right now, this is in between Westford and Carlisle. It is about to head into Chelmsford right now, so if you're in that area, I want to make sure that you're seeking shelter on the lowest level of your house right now. This tornado warning, this goes until 8:45. This is a fast-moving storm. It's moving at about 30 miles per hour. We're also in contact with the National Weather Service, and they will let me know if there are any damage reports coming through. But we have a lot of storms that are developing today, and one of the main concerns, it is going to be flash flooding, but one of the issues we're also watching is that tornado potential right now. I'm just going to list off a couple of areas too, that if you're in the Chelmsford area, if you are near Hart Pond or the Chelmsford Country Club, these are some areas that I'm concerned with where that storm could be heading next. And this is likely producing, we're seeing rotation within this storm, which is why we have that tornado warning in effect until 8:45. But they could extend this as that risk starts to move more northeast, heading towards, say, Lowell and then on into the Merrimack Valley. So right now, this tornado warning, it goes in effect through 8:45, but we're watching some areas where we are getting reports of potential damage coming through, not just from this storm, but we also have this storm in southern New Hampshire where there have been some reports of trees down. This tornado warning across southern New Hampshire, this goes until 9 o'clock this morning. This storm right now, I'm watching as it's moving northeast, and eventually it is heading, bear with me just a second here. This one is near the Manchester area. We had some damage reports coming through from Manchester, New Hampshire. This is close to Route 107. It's near the Auburn area right now, eventually heading towards Deerfield. Where we're seeing these shades of red, that represents torrential rain, and it's also where I'm watching for a little bit of rotation. So this storm, if you're in the Manchester area, if you're closer to, say, Raymond, Deerfield, Auburn, New Hampshire, South Hooksett, make sure you are inside, stay away from windows. This tornado warning, still another about 20 minutes on this one as it's moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. I'm just going to go back to the storm here that I've been tracking across parts of Essex and Middlesex counties. We're just seeing a very defined area where there is rotation within this, and this is the area that I'm most concerned with, waiting to see if they do in fact extend this tornado warning as that concern is still there, and it could be heading towards Lowell next, but it's moving right over Chelmsford right now. So if you're in the Chelmsford area, make sure you're seeking shelter in the lowest level of your house. I'm going to zoom in to street level just so you can see some of the areas I'm most concerned with. This is right along 495 near Westford Street, Clover Hill Drive, Abbott Lane, Cathy Road, Linwood Street, Rainbow Ave, also near Lock Road, right along parts of Route 4. So if you're in these areas, make sure you are at the lowest level of your house. Wait for this storm to pass. Eventually it's heading towards Dracut, and then it will be moving into southern New Hampshire if it holds together. I'm just going to kind of reset here, show you a wider view at what we have right now. I'm going to take off the watches and warnings we have right now because there are a lot of colors going on our radar, and it just shows you how we're dealing with a very active afternoon or morning getting underway, but this will continue through the afternoon. We're tracking some storms. These are severe storms right now, tornado warnings across the state. When we have a tornado warning, that tells us that a storm packing rotation, possibly a tornado, is moving through right now. When we have a tornado watch, which we are also seeing across the area, this is for north of Boston into the North Shore, on into central Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire. That tornado watch goes into effect through 3 o'clock. A tornado watch tells us that I want you to be prepared over the next couple of hours for storms to develop that could contain likely rotation or possibly a tornado. So just resetting. We have 2 tornado warnings for parts of our area right now, one in Massachusetts, one in New Hampshire. The storm I'm most concerned with right now, this is moving right over Chelmsford. This tornado warning, this goes until 8:45, but I'm waiting to see if they do extend that just because we're dealing with some rotation within the storm. This could potentially be producing a tornado on the ground. Let's see here. So I apologize. Okay, so this tornado warning, now it has been extended for Middlesex County until 9:15. So this is the storm that we've been watching that is moving over Chelmsford right now. It's heading towards Lowell. Eventually, if it holds together, it could be heading towards Dracut and then eventually into southern New Hampshire. Just getting an idea as this new warning comes through, just to see if there are any reports coming through. So this will be near Lowell, Dracut, Tewksbury, and Tingsboro by about 8:50. This is not the time to be on the roads, and it looks like, hold on, we're getting a... Yes, so the rotation that we're watching right now, this is right over Chelmsford, right along Route 3, just taking a closer look at some of the street levels. So if I call off a street and you live in this area, please make sure you're seeking shelter. Go to the lowest level of your house. This is near Wigan Street. The storm is moving pretty quickly. Old North Road, Smith Street, Technology Drive, Frank Street, Beach Street. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, and I'm going to pop up a tool that I use, and this is called Velocity. And this just gives me an idea of where we could be dealing with that rotation. The couplet that I'm tracking that could be producing that tornado right now, it's right over Chelmsford. So if you're in the Chelmsford area, please go to the lowest level of your house, away from windows. This is starting to get closer to Lowell right now. It's right along Route 3, heading towards Tingsboro if it holds together, and then eventually into southern New Hampshire. So this tornado warning, it goes through 9:15 for parts of Middlesex County. Just going to switch gears here. I'm going to leave this warning up so you can see just where we're watching this concern. And we still also have that tornado warning over southern New Hampshire, and this is moving over right now Candia near Auburn, parts of 101, eventually heading towards Deerfield. This storm has a history of producing some damage closer to the Manchester area. We had some trees down, some reports of that. I'm just going to zoom back, and I'm going to step away from my computer while I leave this up, and I'm just going to walk over to my other computer to see if we're getting any reports of damage coming through. If you're just tuning in now, we are continuously on the air because of this storm that I'm watching. We have 2 tornado warnings in effect right now. Tornadoes, something that are becoming more common across parts of New England here. We take them very seriously, so that's why my job is to keep you safe, to make sure that we are letting you know where the storm is, where it could be impacting people. We have those damage reports coming in from Manchester, New Hampshire, of trees down on Willow Street, and that's in Hillsborough County. And then we're also looking at the tornado warnings in effect for Middlesex County. This goes until 9:15. The tornado warning that was issued earlier for parts of Essex County, the threat has now moved into Middlesex County. So that's what we're watching right now. And then also that tornado warning in effect for parts of Hillsborough, Merrimack, Rockingham counties in New Hampshire until 9 o'clock. So it looks like no damage reports coming through right now from that storm that's moving likely close to Chelmsford. But what we're seeing right now with some of the tools that I have just on my computers and on my cell phones is it looks like there could be some debris above the surface. So what we are able to capture is sometimes when you have that rotation within these storms, if it picks up on debris, you can see that above the surface with some of the tools that I have right now. So that is something that we're watching. And let's see, Jules, do you have any reports, or are you hearing of anything coming through on your end?
Yeah, Vicki, we're still just tracking those warnings. By the way, you are doing a great job tracking all this really important information, some very severe weather in our area. Again, we're tracking tornado warnings for much of our viewing area. Essex County right now, certain parts of that community under a tornado warning until about 9:15 a.m., so another half hour of this. You've been doing a great job tracking potential touchdown in Acton. Again, we're looking online. So far, no reports yet. Hopefully people in those areas of concern are taking shelter. Again, you want to go to the lowest level of your home, a basement, avoid windows. Again, parts of our area are still under that tornado warning in effect, again, till 9:15 a.m. We have Chelmsford, Dracut, Lowell, Billerica, Tewksbury. If you live in those communities, you want to be weather aware right now. Take your phone, open the Boston 25 weather app, and seek shelter. The lowest level of your home is best. Avoiding windows, again. A very active morning of weather. Again, Vicki, as you've been saying, with these warnings popping up, a few have expired at 8:45, but as this storm moves across our area, there are now other communities under this tornado warning. So again, we'll read out a few names of communities you want to be aware of for a tornado warning. In New Hampshire, we have Manchester, Pinardville, Raymond, South Hooksett. There's also some flash flood warnings in those communities as well as this storm makes its way across our viewing area. So again, those flash flood warnings are in effect until 11:30 a.m., but our biggest concern right now is the tornado warning impacting parts of our viewing area. Essex County right now, it appears Middlesex County might be in the clear at this point. But if you live in Chelmsford, Dracut, Lowell, you do want to take shelter, lowest level of your home, avoiding windows as we continue to track this tornado warning. Again, I'm refreshing our pages to see if anyone's reporting any damage in those communities. But again, hopefully people are just seeking shelter and staying safe. That is top priority in situations like this. But a tornado warning, obviously something our area doesn't see all too often, very serious, concerning, so people want to be weather aware in those communities of Essex County as this storm makes its way across our area. I don't know, Vicki, if you've seen any more damage reports, but at this point we are still tracking
no damage reports other than the Willow Street where we have some trees down near Manchester. I'm just taking a closer look right now, and it does look like this area of rotation, it's starting to broaden out a little bit. There still is this threat though, and so this tornado warning, this goes through 9:15. Right now, the area that I'm watching, this is closer to Chelmsford and Lowell. And just to list off some areas that I'm concerned with, if you're familiar with this area, it's the Showcase Cinemas by Lowell. It's the Holiday Inn Express. These are places where this storm is moving over right now, and the rain is coming down so intense in these areas too. So if there is a tornado on the ground, it's going to be really tough to see. It's going to be rain wrapped. This is by the Lowe's, the Target here as you're approaching Route 3, closer to getting into Lowell, closer to the greater Lowell family Y. I want to give you the heads up that this storm is going to be heading towards your area right now. So if you're in this area, if I've been calling off some of your streets, if I've been calling off your town, make sure you're seeking shelter in the lowest level of your house. What we're dealing with today is we have this boundary that's moving through, and there's a little bit of what we call shear within the atmosphere. So there's a little bit of rotation already going. And when you get a storm that's able to hold on to that rotation, that's where that tornado threat exists. So the tornado warning in effect through 9:15, this is for Middlesex counties. I want to just take a closer look at some of these towns, or some of the streets, rather, within the Lowell area near Chelmsford, where this storm could be moving over you right now. This is near Bedford Ave, Middlesex Street, Princeton Boulevard, Westford Street. So if I'm calling off some of your streets, make sure you're seeking shelter inside. Wait for this to pass. We still do have this tornado warning in effect across parts of New Hampshire. This goes until 9 o'clock, and this is an area that we've been watching a little bit for some of that rotation that was initially closer to Manchester. This storm is moving fairly quickly, so right now this is approaching Deerfield within the next 5 to 10 minutes, so I want to give you the heads up, make sure you are seeking shelter. But going back to this storm that I've been watching, where there has been a little bit more rotation, a tighter area of rotation, this is where I'm most concerned with this tornado warning until 9:15, and this is for close to Chelmsford right now, Lowell, the area that I'm watching. It's right along parts of Route 3 and Route 4. I'm just going to switch gears here. This is approaching Dracut in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to put a tracker on this storm so you can see just where this could be heading next. But this is right along 495. This is not the time to be out on the roads. Not only are we dealing with blinding rain, but the possibility of a tornado on the ground in this area, really into the Merrimack Valley, approaching southern New Hampshire here. This entire line is moving fairly quickly, and this storm is moving 30 miles per hour, so it's heading towards Pelham, New Hampshire by 9:03, Salem, New Hampshire by 9:25, Windham by 9:25 as well. So right now I'm going to kind of reset, show you a wider view. I realize there are a lot of colors on our radar right now, but this is just gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. It's a very active day today. I'm going to take the warnings off and show you that we have some storms moving through. We have torrential rain. Flash flooding is still going to be a big concern with these storms. So we are going to continue to track these as they are moving from west to east, but I'm going to put the watches and warnings back up so I can show you just this storm that we've been tracking really over the past about 30 minutes or so right now. And this storm is heading towards Lowell and Dracut. This storm, we've seen an area of rotation here. This is closer to Lowell and Dracut right now, so it's moving away from the Chelmsford area. And typically with these storms, you know, we still have some downpours nearby, so we might not be getting damage reports if there are any right away. But this is heading into Dracut here. I'm going to take a closer look at just some communities that I'm concerned with right now. So if I'm listing off your town, Flower Lane, Hoover Street, Donahue Road, Forest Park Road, make sure you're seeking shelter inside. Wait for this storm to pass. We still have this tornado warning goes through 9:15. This is for parts of Middlesex counties. And we are starting to see more tornado warnings across parts of Massachusetts, parts of New England. But if you're not familiar with what happens when there's a tornado warning, it tells you that we're tracking a storm where we're likely seeing some rotation, possibly a tornado on the ground. So you need to seek shelter immediately. Go to the lowest level of your home, a basement, maybe a closet, and wait for the storm to pass. This is near the Highlands area of Lowell, also getting closer to Chelmsford. It's heading towards the Acre Market Basket, the Merrimack River here, and this is eventually going to be crossing into southern New Hampshire. This is close to the Lowell National Historic Park. So if you recognize some of these areas, if you're within this area, make sure you stay inside, stay away from windows. It's not the time to be out on the roads. Wait for this storm to pass. I'm just going to step away from my computer for a second and just see if there are any more damage reports coming through. The National Weather Service, they receive these reports, they pass them along to us, and they give us an idea of what we're dealing with when it comes to some of these storms and the intensity of them, and also the history of any damage coming through. Still, the only damage report I have right now are trees down on Willow Street. This is from that storm that we were tracking coming out of Manchester. We still have that tornado warning for another 4 minutes here for parts of Hillsborough, Merrimack, and Rockingham counties, but that is set to expire. So right now, the one storm that I'm really concerned with, this is a tornado warning through 9:15. This is a tornado that's moving close to Chelmsford right now. It's moving at about 30 miles per hour. It's a fast-moving storm. It's going to be rain-wrapped, which means it's really hard to see if there is, in fact, a tornado on the ground. And I realize as we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour, if you're just tuning in, we're delaying the news right now because we have a serious situation right now with these severe storms moving through, a tornado warning in effect across parts of Middlesex County. This goes until 9:15. The storm I'm tracking right now, this is close to 113. This is near Flower Lane. It's also near Gilmore Street, Spark Street, Lantern Lane, Donahue Road, Merrill Lane. So if I'm listing off some places that you're familiar with, if you live within this area, I want to make sure you're seeking shelter inside. This tornado warning across southern New Hampshire, this is set to expire in a few minutes here. They notice that it is starting to weaken. There's not as much rotation within them, but there are still storms moving through. We're still dealing with some torrential rain in some of these areas. Let me switch gears here, and I'm going to go back to the storm that we are watching right now. So this goes through 9:15. This storm is moving quickly. It is now moving towards Drake-it. So Drake-it, you are in the path of this storm right now. I want to make sure you're seeking shelter inside. Get away from windows. I'm just going to look at another tool that I have here. This is moving closer, actually, in the next, I'd say, 10 minutes to Pelham, New Hampshire. So you're in the path of this storm next. This is moving right over 113 right now. I'm also going to switch gears here and just look at another tool that I have. This is we call correlation coefficient. It shows me if we could see any debris within the storm. We did see that earlier within the Chelmsford area, and now the storm, it's moving away from Lowell. It is moving, it is about to cross over into the southern New Hampshire area here, right along the Merrimack River. So this is moving out of Drake-it, about to be moving into southern New Hampshire here. A lot of really heavy rain within this as well. So if there is a tornado within this storm, then we are likely, it's going to be tough to see any tornadoes. But this tornado warning still in effect through 9:15. They are likely going to extend this into southern New Hampshire if this holds together. I'm starting to see that this is still producing that rotation. This is closer to the Drake-it area right now, but I want to make sure if you're in southern New Hampshire that you are also taking caution with this storm as it's approaching Pelham, southern New Hampshire within the next 10 minutes. The storm crossing over into southern New Hampshire, and then eventually I'm going to put a tracker on this to show you some of the areas that could be getting hit with this storm next. So putting a tracker on that, Pelham, New Hampshire by 9:09. And Jules, as we approach the 9 o'clock hour, I'm just going to have you reset as I continue to track this storm here.
Yeah, Vicki, you're doing a great job. If you're just tuning in right now, she's tracking some numerous tornado warnings in our viewing area right now. So very severe weather impacting our area. If you live in Middlesex County, especially close to Chelmsford, you should seek shelter immediately. There is a tornado warning in that area until 9:15 a.m. We know that storm that Vicki has been tracking is close to Chelmsford at this point. She says it's moving towards Drake-it at a rate of about 30 miles per hour. So it is a fast-moving storm. But again, this is potentially very severe weather, a tornado warning in that area, which means seek shelter immediately. You need to avoid windows, go indoors, perhaps go to the lowest level of your home, whether that's a basement or a downstairs bathroom, even a closet. You just want to get away from windows and seek shelter. Bring your phone with you so you can keep tracking the storm with the Boston 25 weather app. But again, you need to seek shelter immediately. If
If you live in Chelmsford, Dracut, Lowell, that Middlesex County area, you are under a tornado warning until 9:15 this morning. There is also concerns in southern New Hampshire. There's a storm system approaching Pelham, New Hampshire, which is also of concern at this point. If you live in that area, you do want to seek shelter immediately. You are under a tornado warning. Again, these are not all that common in our area, so we want you to be prepared. You need to seek shelter and avoid windows. Go to a closet, a basement, a downstairs bathroom, anywhere where you can stay safe. We've had a number of storm systems moving throughout our area with tornado warnings impacting our area. Earlier this morning, Vicki was tracking a potential touchdown in Acton. We're still awaiting some damage reports from that area, but again, storms are impacting our entire area. Some severe weather in certain parts of Middlesex County. We are under that tornado warning in that area until 9:15 a.m. Again, for a storm that is moving close to Chelmsford at this point, moving at about 30 miles per hour. So not a slow storm, it's fast moving, but could potentially bring some very significant weather with that tornado warning. Again, if you live in Middlesex County, especially in communities like Chelmsford, Dracut, even Lowell, you need to seek shelter immediately. Go inside, avoid windows, go to the lowest level of your home, go to your basement if possible, even a bathroom or a closet if that's your best option. All this while we're also tracking flash flooding concerns with torrential downpours today. Again, our main concern at this point, it's 9 a.m. We have tornado warnings in parts of our communities, which again, not all that common for what we see here in New England, but a concern today, especially in Middlesex County right now. If you live in Chelmsford, you do need to seek shelter immediately as we continue tracking this storm. We have been checking online to see any damage reports. So far, nothing coming in just yet, but looking at the radar, you can see there is a lot of color out there. This is a fast-moving storm, so we are going to continue tracking this for you. Vicki, I've been checking online. So far, there aren't many mentions we're seeing about damage reports. Hopefully, people in these communities are staying safe and seeking shelter. That is most important. You need to stay away from windows, move to the lowest level of your home during these tornado warnings.
This storm is moving very quickly, so this has already been extended into southern New Hampshire. This goes through 9:30, so now that concern for the tornado or potential tornado, the rotation that we've been tracking, this is now moving into southern New Hampshire, as I was just saying. So this is now moving into Rockingham County, Hillsborough County, so this tornado warning now goes into effect until 9:30. So some areas that I was watching earlier that were under the risk, under that concern for seeing potentially a tornado, that is now in the clear from Chelmsford through Lowell. This is a very fast-moving storm, and we're also dealing with that torrential rainfall. I'm also going to widen out because I'm also watching more storms to our west, and I do want to mention there's a storm that I've been tracking. This is near the Spencer area. No warning right now for this, but I have been noticing a little bit of rotation within this storm, so there is the potential that we could see another warning issued for this storm closer to Brookfield and Spencer, and this is in Worcester County. Again, no actual warning for this storm right now, but it is something that I'm going to monitor. I'm going to take a wider view right now. I apologize as my graphics are kind of having a little bit of a delayed reaction, but there are storms that are moving through right now, and there are some severe storms as well. We're tracking this new tornado warning. This was just issued for parts of southern New Hampshire. This includes Rockingham County, and this goes until 9:30. This is now closer to the Pelham area and eventually Windham. I'm going to take a closer look so you can see just some of the areas that I'm watching closely right now, where we could see this storm moving. And if I'm mentioning an area that you're familiar with, where you live, I want to make sure you stay inside, stay away from windows, and wait for this storm to pass. I'm just going to pop up a tool that I'm using to kind of track these. The rotation, it seems like it's a little bit broader in this area, but this is near Pelham, New Hampshire right now. This is near the Merrimack River. So this is an area I'm watching right along Route 38, 128, and this is close to 93. This is likely going to be passing west of 93, but I'll be monitoring that. This is not the time to be hitting the roads, but if you're in this area, make sure you're seeking shelter inside and wait for this storm to pass. We're tracking a whole line of storms that are moving through. These are some of the storms that are starting to fire up ahead of that main band. But an area that I'm watching right now is closer to Pelham, New Hampshire, and it looks like they did just expire that warning across Middlesex County. So you are in the clear, but still we have more storms to get through over the next couple of hours. So while that storm has passed, we're still dealing with a tornado watch, which means conditions over the next couple of hours, we could potentially see more of these tornado warnings happening. The difference between a watch and a warning. A tornado warning is what we are seeing over Pelham, New Hampshire right now. This means that there could potentially be a tornado occurring right now as this is moving through. A tornado watch means conditions are favorable over the next couple of hours where we could see some of these storms firing up. So we still have that threat across central Massachusetts into the North Shore and even the Merrimack Valley. And so right now we are watching this storm right now. I'm going to just pop this information up so you can see what area I'm concerned with. It's no longer part of Massachusetts, the area that I'm watching right now. This is for southern New Hampshire. So we have the tornado warning over Rockingham County and Hillsborough County, and this goes until 9:30. We're watching this storm. It has a history of producing rotation across areas in Massachusetts near the Merrimack Valley, closer to Chelmsford, Dracut, Lowell. We were tracking that just a little while ago, and now this threat has moved into southern New Hampshire. So the area we're watching right now, this is just in southern New Hampshire. This is where we could potentially be dealing with rotation, a storm possibly producing a tornado near Pelham and Hudson. Eventually Salem, New Hampshire by 9:30. This storm right now, it's a fast moving storm. I'm just going to look at one of the other tools that I'm seeing right now just to get an idea of what the rotation is looking like. Right now, it still looks like the area we're watching, this is closer to Pelham, New Hampshire, near Windham eventually, and this is included in the tornado warning through 9:30. I also still want to go back to the storm that I've been watching. There's no warning for this storm at the moment, but I'm seeing some intense rainfall, and I'm seeing some brighter shades in what I call velocity, and that tells me that there could be a little bit of rotation. It's broad rotation right now, but this is closer to the Spencer area. So I'll be watching that, seeing if this possibly starts to strengthen a little bit, if that area of rotation maybe gets a little bit tighter here. But if you're just tuning in, if you're waking up right now, we have some thunderstorms moving through. We have some severe storms moving through. Right now, we do have a tornado warning for our area. This is for parts of southern New Hampshire. Massachusetts is not included in that tornado warning at the moment, but this is closer to Pelham. I'm noticing that this area of rotation, it's broadening out, which tells me that the storm is weakening, but I can't confirm that right now as that tornado warning is still in effect through 9:30. But this is just an area that we're watching where we could be dealing with damaging wind. Even outside of the tornado risk that we have today, we could see more trees that could fall, and that's because the ground is so saturated. So it's not going to take a strong gust up to about 60 miles per hour to knock down trees today. We could see that with winds that aren't quite as strong, but because the ground has been so saturated, and there still is that flooding concern, that flash flooding concern, we still have this tornado warning through 9:30. And what we sometimes see with this storm is sometimes it might weaken a little bit, but then it starts to strengthen as it continues to move fairly quickly. The storm is moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So the risk for this tornado, it is moving out of Pelham and it's heading towards Windham, New Hampshire. This is going to approach 93 here in a little bit. So if you're within this area in southern New Hampshire, if you're in Rockingham County, Hillsborough County, I want to make sure that you are prepared as these stronger storms are moving through. And Jules, are you hearing anything on your end?
If you're just tuning in, I do want to mention meteorologist Vicki Graff doing a fabulous job of tracking some very severe weather. We have tornado warnings in quite a few parts of our viewing area. We want to quickly remind people who live in these areas, we're tracking Middlesex County,
Hillsborough County and Rockingham County in New Hampshire, parts of Worcester County as well. If you live in those communities, some reminders for you. If you are under a tornado watch right now, you need to go to your basement. You need to seek shelter immediately. Avoid windows. You want the lowest floor in your home. That could be a bathroom, a closet, even a center hallway. If possible, you want to shelter in place without any windows. If there's a room that has no windows, you want to go there. For some added protection, you should get under something sturdy, perhaps a heavy table or a workbench. Cover your body with a blanket, a sleeping bag, or a mattress. Protect your head with anything you have available. If you happen to be outside or in a mobile home, you want to find a nearby building, preferably with a basement. Now, if you're in a car, don't try to outrun a tornado. Instead, find the nearest building, go inside, go to the lowest floor, again, perhaps a basement, and avoid any windows. We want to take you outside now for a live look in Worcester. This is our Polar Park camera. You can see some ominous skies out there. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz did tweet moments ago that there was possible rotation detected in Worcester County. We also are tracking potential touchdown earlier this morning in Acton. Again, we're awaiting storm damage reports to confirm any tornado activity, but much of our area under a tornado warning at this point. Again, those are northeastern parts of Middlesex County, communities like Chelmsford, Dracut, even Lowell. You need to place until 9:30 a.m. Another tornado warning for southern New Hampshire. Meteorologist Vicki Graff has told us that the storm has now moved out of Pelham, but it's approaching Windham, New Hampshire. So if you're in Rockingham County, Hillsborough County, New Hampshire, you do need to seek shelter immediately. We also want to remind you, meteorologist Sherry Spears writing in, our whole team of meteorologists are tracking this even though they're not here in studio with us. She wants to remind people in these counties to avoid going outside, obviously. Don't try to take any pictures or videos. In severe weather, your safety is priority. That is what's most important. You need to go indoors and seek shelter immediately. That means avoiding any windows, going to the lowest level of your home, perhaps a basement, a bathroom, even a closet. You need to avoid those windows and cover your body with something sturdy like a large table, a workbench, anything you have available. Protect your head. Again, a tornado warning is a very serious weather event, and we don't see them all that often, so we want to make sure that you are prepared. If you do live in northeastern Middlesex County, Worcester County, and in southern New Hampshire, we are tracking a number of tornado warnings. Again, one of them expiring at 9:30 this morning. It could potentially be extended, but I do want to read out some communities that are under that tornado warning until 9:30 a.m. Our meteorologists tweeting this information out if you have your phone with you. Tornado warnings in New Hampshire, cities like Pelham, Salem, and Windham. In Massachusetts, we have Chelmsford, Dracut, and Lowell. That tornado warning is set to expire at 9:15. Unclear if it will be extended, but we know meteorologist Vicki Graff is in studio. She's been doing an excellent job of tracking all of these developments and all the potential tornado activity in our viewing area. But again, these are rare occurrences, so I do want to remind our viewers who are in those communities, that would be northeastern Middlesex County, southern New Hampshire, even parts of Worcester County. You need to seek shelter immediately. Get to the lowest level of your home, whether that's a basement, a downstairs bathroom, even a closet. You want to avoid windows, and you want to make sure you're seeking shelter, perhaps covering your body with something sturdy like a table, a workbench. Put a blanket, even a mattress over yourself. This is obviously a serious weather event that we don't see all that often here in New England. So again, tornado warnings for parts of our viewing area until 9:30 a.m. Right now, again, we're approaching 9:15 a.m. Some of those tornado warnings were set to expire at 9:15. We'll see if the storms have moved out of those communities. But for now, we do want to make sure you're being weather aware and that you're prepared to take shelter immediately. And again, I want to remind people in Worcester County, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz did tweet that rotation was detected in Worcester County. And we took you live out to our Polar Park camera. We'll see if we can get that up for you again to give you a live look of Worcester. In there, you can see outside some ominous looking clouds out there. Again, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz tweeting that rotation was detected in Worcester County. So we just want to prepare people in Spencer and Rutland nearby to also be weather aware. Taking a live look now at Saugus, you can see some gray skies out there. There are some strong winds we're detecting. People on the roads, if you're in Saugus or surrounding communities, you do want to get home or get to the nearest building as we continue to track this severe weather. It is a day to not go out if you don't have to be out there, just because we are tornado warnings in parts of our area. Again, those communities in northeastern Middlesex County, Worcester County, and southern New Hampshire are now in the most concerning areas. So we are approaching 9:15. We're going to be refreshing our feeds to see if some of those tornado warnings expire at this point. We know a few have been extended to 9:30 as this storm makes its way across our area. Earlier, Vicki had mentioned it is a fast-moving storm. About 30 miles per hour is the rate it's moving at, so it's not slow by any means, but we are tracking, again, it's bringing the potential for rotation, the potential for tornadoes, and we are in a tornado warning, again, for certain parts of our area. We're refreshing. It looks like nothing coming in just yet from the National Weather Service, but at this point we know that there is a tornado warning until 9:30 in certain communities. Those communities in southern New Hampshire, I want to read out those cities again. We've got we've got Pelham, Salem, and Windham for the tornado warning. We also have some flash flood warnings with this storm system that's moving through. Flash flood warning extended until 11:30 a.m. in New Hampshire, communities like Hudson, Keene, Merrimack, and Nashua. We also have Concord, Derry, Dover, and Rochester under that flash flood warning as well, as we continue to see if any of these tornado warnings will be extended. We do know there is a tornado warning until 9:30 a.m. in Chelmsford, Dracut, and Lowell. Again, parts of Middlesex County, you need to seek shelter immediately. And just to remind everyone at home, if you live in any of these areas, you should go inside immediately and avoid windows. Go to the lowest level of your home, be it a basement, a bathroom, even a closet would work. As we're tracking tornado warnings, you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself and your family, perhaps seeking shelter under a workbench, a heavy piece of furniture, even a mattress will work. Again, this is a severe weather event. We've been tracking storm systems all throughout our viewing area, some of them potentially creating tornadoes. Earlier this morning, almost an hour ago now, Vicki was tracking a potential touchdown in Acton, but we're still awaiting some damage reports from that area. And again, a reminder for you, meteorologist Sherry Spear, reminding us all not to go outside during severe weather like this. Don't take those pictures and videos. Your safety is top priority. That's what's most important. You need to get inside and seek shelter. If you happen to be out right now, perhaps you're in a mobile home or you're in a car, you need to find the nearest building, preferably with a basement. And we do want to bring up some more reminders for you if you live in these communities that are currently under a tornado warning. We want to remind you to, again, seek shelter. Your safety is top priority. Go to the basement or an inside room. Avoid any windows. Of course, keep your windows closed. You want to be on the lowest floor possible, and that could be a bathroom, it could be a closet, even a center hallway. If possible, avoid sheltering in a room with any windows. And again, for some added protection, get under something sturdy. Maybe that's a heavy table or a workbench. You want to cover your body with a blanket, a sleeping bag, a mattress is even better, and of course, protect your head with anything you have available. Now again, if you're in a mobile home or if you're outside your home, you want to find the nearest building, preferably one that has a basement. If you're in your car, don't try to outrun a tornado. Driving away is not the smartest choice here. You want to find the closest building possible and then again get to the lowest level of that building. So we have been tracking the storm. Our whole team of meteorologists are out. Even if they're not here in studio, they are continuing to track the radar. We've had meteorologist Vicki Graff doing an excellent job updating us minute by minute of this storm as it's moving across our area. There is a storm system we're tracking in southern New Hampshire. It has made its way out of Pelham. It is approaching Windham, New Hampshire, which again is Rockingham County, Hillsborough County. You need to avoid being outside, get indoors, seek shelter in the lowest level of whatever building you're in, whether or not you're home or if you're out, go to the closest building. So Vicki, we know we passed that 9:15 mark. Have any of the tornado warnings expired? Have they been extended? What's the latest?
And you know, to give you an idea of where this is, if you're not familiar with southern New Hampshire, this is close to Canopy Lake Park. So right now that storm is approaching Windham, New Hampshire, where we're seeing some broad rotation right now. And it does look like that this tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire here. I'm just double checking to confirm because we're seeing that it doesn't look like there's as much rotation. So this, it still is in effect through, let's see. Just going to zoom out a little bit here because I'm showing that it has likely been canceled. So that storm that we've been tracking, it does look like they have allowed that to expire a little bit early as we're seeing some of that weakening. So right now, I'm just confirming, but all of our tornado warnings have expired. But I do want to just kind of reset here because we're still not in the clear. We do have a tornado watch in effect for part of our area. This includes central Massachusetts, north of Boston, into the Merrimack Valley. That tornado watch goes into effect through 3 o'clock this afternoon. We still have more storms to get through, and you can see they're starting to move into central Massachusetts right now. There is a storm that I've been watching some very broad, very wide area of rotation. If that starts to tighten a little bit, then we will be watching to see if there are any tornado warnings issued for that. But as of right now, as of 9:20, all the tornado warnings have expired. We still have a tornado watch in effect for parts of our state. I'm just going to take this off so you can see that area in yellow here. We also have flood watches in effect through tonight, as flooding is going to be a big concern over the next couple of hours. So we have the risk for not just some stronger storms creating some flooding, some flash flooding, but there still will be the concern that we could see more strong to severe storms over the next couple of hours as that line comes through that's right now to our west. This line could create some thunderstorms that have rotation in them, which could produce a tornado. So just resetting right now, it does look like the tornado warnings have been allowed to drop. Sometimes with these storms, you will see as they are moving away, they weaken a little bit, but then they could start to gain momentum, and we can see them pulsing and getting a little bit more rotation. So that is something that I'll be keeping a close eye on. But as of right now, we just have a tornado watch in effect, which means conditions over the next couple of hours. I just want to make sure you're prepared just in case. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back here on Boston 25 News after a break.
They're making a difference. They're dedicated to helping others. They are DCU's hometown heroes. Join Boston 25 Morning News this Friday for our zip trip to Sandwich, sponsored by DCU, Digital Federal Credit Union.
I can't wait.
All right, we are on a weather alert. Just to kind of recap what we have, we just got back after the break. We had some tornado warnings issued earlier. We still have this tornado watch in effect through 3 o'clock this afternoon for parts of central western Massachusetts, the North Shore, Merrimack Valley, and southern New Hampshire into central New Hampshire. That tells us that conditions over the next couple of hours, we still have more storms that are rolling through, and some of these storms could produce a tornado. It's one of those days I want to make sure you're weather aware and also prepared, because as these storms are moving through, they're going to be moving through very quickly. They're producing some intense rain. We could see some strong damaging wind, and there is that risk for an isolated tornado. We also have this flood watch in effect through tonight. Flooding is also going to be a big concern throughout the afternoon. We still have some really heavy and intense rain to get through. Keep in mind, the ground is already so saturated from recent rainfall, and you can see the worst of this is starting to arrive from western into central Massachusetts right now. We're watching these storms as they move through. They could produce not just some intense rainfall at rainfall rates at 1 to 2 inches per hour. We could be looking at several inches of rain still through this afternoon, but we could also see some damaging wind, and we're watching that threat for an isolated tornado that could develop over the next couple of hours. It's going to be a busy afternoon. It's an active day. That's why we're on the weather alert. Stay with Boston 25 News as we continue to track these storms. We'll be right back.
Boston 25 Morning News continues right now.
Taking a live look outside now. This is Worcester, our Polar Park camera. We have been tracking some severe weather this morning. It's 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. I'm Julianne Lima, filling in for Crystal Haynes. We are on a weather alert this morning as heavy rain, thunderstorms, and again, tornado warnings in much of our area. Boston 25 meteorologist Vicki Graff has been super busy all morning tracking this severe weather. It seems like these storms are moving well across our area, Vicki.
That's right, and we still have a long way to go, and that's why we're on the weather alert. So I want you to be prepared for quickly changing weather conditions throughout the day today. We mentioned we were on this alert for the risk for some stronger thunderstorms, possibly some tornadoes, and we did see some tornado warnings issued earlier. Those have all expired, but we still have this tornado watch. A tornado watch tells us over the next couple of hours we could see some stronger thunderstorms moving through that produce some rotation or in fact a tornado on the ground. So this is the area that I want you to be prepared for. Central Massachusetts on into the North Shore, Merrimack Valley, and into southern and central New Hampshire. That tornado watch goes through 3 o'clock. Over the next couple of hours, be weather aware. Make sure you have our Boston 25 weather app so you can get alerts directly to your phone, especially if you have to be heading out. And if you can, just avoid going out on the roads. Storms are not the only concern. It's flooding. And we do have a flood watch in effect for a good portion of our area and New England. The exception is parts of the South Shore, Cape and Islands, where we're still expecting some heavy rainfall, but the ground isn't quite as saturated there. We've had so much recent rain that with additional really heavy rain today, that's going to lead to some flash flooding. And I'm just getting an alert in right now, so I'm just going to step away and see what this is so that I can monitor it for you. But the rain, the thunderstorms, these are moving in from west to east. And it does look like we now have a new severe thunderstorm warning. So I'm just going to show you where this is. This is for parts of Middlesex and Worcester counties. And this goes until 10:15. So we've been talking about storms all day today so far. This new severe thunderstorm warning, this is for parts of Middlesex and Worcester counties. This is an area that we were watching earlier with potential rotation. It was a broad area, but there still could be a little bit of rotation here as this storm is heading into Wachusett, Princeton right now. That storm eventually moving towards Leominster. I'm just going to put something on this so you can see the area that I'm talking about right now. This includes Sterling, Leominster, Lunenburg. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 10:15. Right now the concern could be for some damaging wind, and normally with damaging wind it takes about 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts to knock down trees. I think it's going to be a little bit less than that because the ground is so saturated, but we could be watching an area of potential rotation here. I'm just going to show you that area that I'm watching right now. This is right over Princeton. It's heading towards the Wachusett, Leominster area. So if you're right along parts of 62, I just want you to make sure that you're prepared because we could be dealing with a strong, possibly a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but there could be a little bit of rotation within this as well. And this is something that we were tracking earlier today. So again, over the next couple of hours, our main concerns, we're going to be dealing with some really heavy rain. There will be the concern for some damaging wind gusts, some lightning, and then also an isolated tornado. So that severe thunderstorm warning goes until 10:15. I'm going to recap and track that storm for you. But as the afternoon goes on, I want you to be prepared for storms containing some really intense and heavy rainfall. This is not the kind of day that you want to be out on the roads. If you can, hold off on any errands maybe until tomorrow when things are looking a little bit better and brighter. There will be some thunderstorms. Some of these thunderstorms could be strong to severe, and there still is this isolated risk for a tornado. I'm going to take a look at this storm as it's moving through. I'll track it for you, and I'll be right back.
All right, thank you so much, Vicki. And if there's ever a day to download the Boston 25 weather app, it's today. You'll get minute-to-minute updates on the forecast, including if downpours or lightning are detected near your home, and the app is free to download. We want to take a look now at the morning's top stories. Police are investigating after a teenager drowned in Winchester. State police say the 17-year-old's body was pulled from Upper Mystic Lake last night. Members of the Stoneham Fire Department dive team found his body just before 8 p.m. State police say the teen had been swimming with a group outside of the lake's designated swim zone. They have not yet released his name. On Martha's Vineyard, a pilot suffered a heart attack while trying to land his plane. It happened just after 3 p.m. yesterday. State police say a woman who was a passenger on the plane took the controls and tried to land the small plane herself. It resulted in a hard landing that caused the left wing to break in half. The 79-year-old pilot was flown to a Boston hospital in serious, life-threatening condition. The woman was treated and released from a local hospital. Multiple agencies, including state police and the FAA, are now investigating. And Boston police have released new surveillance images of the man accused of stealing a truck with a baby inside. Officers are searching for this man on your screen. They say he stole the truck on Geneva Avenue in Dorchester on Friday. The baby was still inside the vehicle at the time. Moments later, the truck returned and the man left the baby girl on the sidewalk. Luckily, that child was not hurt. To the South Shore now, blue lights to mark a somber anniversary. Last night, people in Weymouth were encouraged to change the bulbs outside their homes to blue ones in honor of fallen Police Sergeant Michael Chesna. Saturday marked 5 years since the shooting deaths of Sergeant Chesna and Weymouth resident Vera Adams. The somber anniversary came just days after a judge declared a mistrial in the case against the man accused of killing them. Boston 25 News reporter Bria Douglas shows us how the community is trying to move forward from this tragedy while still honoring the lives that were lost.
Neighborhoods in Weymouth had blue lights displayed outside for Officer Michael Chesna. Saturday marked 5 years since Officer Chesna was shot and killed in the line of duty. To stand in solidarity with Officer Chesna's family, the community was encouraged to change their exterior lights to blue as a sign they will never forget his sacrifice. Officer Chesna was a 6-year veteran with the Weymouth Police Department. He left behind a wife and 2 children. In Weymouth, Bria Douglas for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Just want to highlight and reset the situation right now, but we do have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. This is for parts of Worcester and Middlesex County until 10:15, and we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning in effect, and this is for parts of southern New Hampshire. We're tracking these storms, and as of right now, the biggest concern is going to be torrential rain as well as some damaging wind. But this area that we're tracking across central Massachusetts and then also on into southern New Hampshire, there could be a little bit of rotation within these. So I just want to make sure that you're prepared. This is closer to Auburn and Raymond. This is in southern New Hampshire right now. This severe thunderstorm warning goes until 10:15, and this is for northwestern Rockingham County. So just to give you the heads up, if you're in these areas, we're watching for some really heavy rain, the concern for some damaging wind and possible rotation. No tornado warnings as of right now. We've had several already today, but I just want to keep you aware of the situation that we have going on. So I'm going to continue to track these storms. I'll get back to you and I'll show you where the next threats will be coming up.
All right, thank you, Vicki. And we do want to remind our viewers now about what to do in the event of a tornado touching down. We have had some tornado warnings this morning. So just to remind you, you need to go to a basement or an inside room without any windows. Luckily, hopefully the lowest level of your home. Now that can be a bathroom, a closet, even a center hallway, if possible. Now I want to show you what you're seeing on your screen is the AL East standings. We're going to get the new full screen up for you about what to do in the event of a tornado. There it is. So again, you need to get to the lowest level of your home, perhaps a basement, a room without any windows. Get under something sturdy like a workbench, a table. Cover your body with a blanket, a mattress, anything that you have on hand. And again, do not go outside. If you are outdoors, seek shelter in the closest building possible. And again, the lowest level of that building. And now we're going to toss it out. You're taking a live look at Worcester right now. Worcester County was one of those communities under a tornado warning earlier this morning that has since expired. Now meteorologist Vicki Graff is tracking some severe thunderstorms moving throughout our area. She'll be back with an update on the forecast after this break.
Boston 25 News, the only station with the Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz.
And all that sunshine.
He's been here for you for over 25 years.
With that front, some big thunderstorms are firing up.
Through all kinds of weather.
And right now, if we weren't all covered up like this, our skin could freeze.
Making sure you're always safe and prepared.
What is important is how it's going to impact your life.
So when it comes to weather, watch the only station with the Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lemanowitz. Make sure you know the weather in your town. Download the Boston 25 weather app today.
It's a weekend of celebrations for the New England Free Jacks. The Quincy-based rugby team won the championship last weekend in dramatic fashion, capturing their first Major League Rugby title in franchise history. Yesterday, fans gathered at Veterans Memorial Stadium to celebrate the historic win. A police and fire escort led the team to the stadium, where fans cheered during a rally and a special ceremony.
Ever hurts to support Boston sports, especially when they win a championship. So, and especially having this, my hometown, it's some stuff that it just makes you say, you can't miss on this.
It's fun because they have a good program, so everybody feels like it's part of like the community. So we all bring the kids and we have fun, and a lot of the dads go, and it's a good time. And it was very exciting, and now we get to go hang out and party with them.
And party they did. After the rally, the team, with their trophy and championship shield, of course, traveled to 7 other locations. The New England Free Jacks are Greater Boston's first professional rugby team, representing all 6 New England states.
We are on a weather alert today. We have severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Worcester and Middlesex counties. This goes until 10:15, dealing with heavy rain, the possibility of some damaging wind, and maybe even a little bit of rotation and isolated tornado. With this storm here over Rockingham County, a severe thunderstorm warning through 10:15 as well into southern New Hampshire. I'll show you when the threat for storms will clear out coming up.
Every night.
Scene here in Dedham as we continue to stay on top of this breaking news.
Stories break.
This story's still developing, and we're going to take you there live.
No mistaking where this biplane leads here at this busy
And your local station is live. Boston 25 News.
It has been a wild night already. One of the most chaotic scenes I have ever been to.
Doing what it takes to keep you informed.
Power outages with gusts over 40 miles an hour.
Live in Brighton.
We're live in Danvers
Turn
tonight.
to Boston 25 News at 10.
To the local station, Boston 25 News.
Bye.
And we are on a weather alert today. That's ahead of the rain moving through, the threat for some thunderstorms, and we do have the risk for some tornadoes for today. That's why we do have a tornado watch until 3 o'clock. We're seeing that band of really heavy rain moving through right now, where we do have some severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, but we're watching for some areas of rotation. The tornado watch in effect for central western Massachusetts, parts of Connecticut, Rhode Island, the North Shore, Merrimack Valley, into southern New Hampshire, and even central New Hampshire. So these are the areas that have the greatest potential for seeing some of these storms that do produce a little bit of rotation. We're also watching that issue for flooding. We've had so much rain recently, so the ground is already saturated with more additional rainfall, and we're talking inches of rain today. This is going to lead to some flash flooding concerns. We'll be watching for that. We could be dealing with basement flooding today, as well as some road washouts. So that is a big concern, especially across central and western Massachusetts. The exception to this flood watch, parts of the South Shore, the Cape and Islands, where we haven't had quite as much rain recently, but we're still expecting some really heavy rainfall for today. A lot of colors on the map right now, but I want to highlight pretty much the areas that we're tracking right now where we have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect through 10:15. And this is for parts of Worcester County and Middlesex County. The area I'm watching right now, this is closer to Leominster, right along Route 2, even 190. We're dealing with torrential rain. On top of that, some lightning, the concern for some damaging wind. And this storm we've been watching over the past, we'll say, hour or so, and there has been an indication of a little bit of some rotation within this. So this storm could potentially, if it strengthens a little bit more, we'll have to watch for that tornado concern. We also have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect across Rockingham County in southern New Hampshire. This is near Raymond. This is producing some heavy rainfall, some lightning, and that concern for some damaging wind. This goes until 10:15. We still have an active afternoon to get through, so we are starting the day off with some rain moving through. We've had some strong, some severe storms, still a lot over to our west. And as this line approaches, this is where we're going to be watching for the flooding concerns, the threat for some severe storms, and possibly even an isolated tornado through the early afternoon. It's all along a boundary that's moving through, and showing you the latest on our futurecast here. This is going to be nearing Boston closer to around 11 o'clock this morning, and then eventually it's going to be clearing out through, say, 2, 3 o'clock. However, we're still not in the clear just yet. More heavy rain on the way for tonight. This eventually will all wind down later tonight into the overnight hours, and meteorologist Tucker Antico will be tracking that rain as it clears out. For most of us, we're dealing with a dry morning commute for Monday, but that's after a lot of rain for today. I mentioned several inches of rain. We could be looking at a widespread 1 to 3 inches, but in some spots we could be seeing more closer to 4 or even 5 inches of rainfall. That's a lot of rain in a short amount of time. So flooding is a concern today. Storms are still a concern today, but we're looking at a fairly quiet week ahead. We'll be right back.
I'm sure we all have a shoe lover in our lives, am I right? Well, one of the things that shoe lovers hate is when you have ugly socks on and they mess up the look of your whole shoe. So for those sneakerheads that are out there, you got to check out these socks. These are the Cloud socks. I wear these like every single day. You can't even tell I have them on because look at them. They come way down here so they don't peek out of your shoe. Now, most of those socks, like the no seams and things like that, I hate them because they always slip off. They end up in the middle of my foot and I'm stepping stepping on them all day. It's so uncomfortable. With these cloud socks, they are like butter, baby. They are so comfortable, and I have several here. They have this little liner on the back, and that sticks to the back of your foot in a good way, so it doesn't slip down, it doesn't move, it stays in place, and they're so comfortable. They come in multiple different colors. Look at all these colors. And I got these, but I just ordered a bunch more because I was like, I need multiple colors because I like wearing them, especially when I have loafers on because you don't see them. And I hate going barefoot in loafers because my feet start to sweat and all that. It's just a nasty feeling, and they stick to the shoe. So these are much better. I love these. I need one in every color, and you will too. Once you wear one, you will never want another sock besides these cloud socks. And right now, we have an exclusive offer of 23% off these socks right now at localsteals.com.
Winning. When one of your expensive home appliances breaks, what do? Repair or replace? Monday at 7:15 on Boston 25 Morning News.
I'm meteorologist Vicki Graff back with you. We have a new tornado warning, and this is for parts of southern New Hampshire. This includes Rockingham County and southwestern Strafford County. This goes until 10:15. We've been tracking these storms all morning long. I mentioned there still is the potential where we could see some strong and even severe thunderstorms producing some rotation, and that's what we're seeing now across parts of southern New Hampshire. So to give you an idea of where this is going to be near Northwood. This is in southern New Hampshire. This is closer to 10:10, and then Barrington around 10:15. So this tornado warning in effect for parts of southern New Hampshire. This is closer to Rockingham County and Strafford County. That goes until 10:15. It was previously a severe thunderstorm warning, but now we're starting to see a little bit more of the rotation within this storm. So right now, I'm just giving you an idea of some places that we're tracking right now. This is closer to Nottingham. That's in southern New Hampshire, as well as this is just north of Raymond. We've also been watching a severe thunderstorm warning in effect across parts of central Massachusetts, closer to the Leominster and Fitchburg area. A little bit of some broad rotation within that. That is now still a severe thunderstorm warning, but we'll watch and see if that could possibly strengthen if we get a little bit more of that rotation within there. So where I'm watching right now, this is just north of Raymond. This is closer to Deerfield. Deerfield also included in this tornado warning, Nottingham, Northwood, and Barrington. So these areas right now, this is where we're concerned, where there is a severe thunderstorm moving through. There is a little bit of rotation within this. We're concerned there could be a tornado within this storm. And if you're in this area, do not get out on the roads right now. If you had errands to run, avoid those and stay inside. Go to the lowest level of your home, such as a basement, maybe a closet, but put as many walls between you and the outside as you can and wait for this storm to pass. This is moving very quickly. It's moving at about 30 miles per hour to the northeast. So this is just north of Raymond right now. It's in between Deerfield and Nottingham, and we're watching to see as that storm is moving closer to Northwood. So this storm right now is producing and prompting this tornado warning. This is a new tornado warning just coming in, and this is for parts of Rockingham County, Strafford County, in southern New Hampshire. I'm just going to zoom in and show you what we're watching right now. Some areas within this storm that we're concerned where there could be that rotation, possibly a tornado on the ground. So bear with me as I just get my tools ready here. So this is closer to Deerfield. It's right by 107. Meteorologist Tucker Antico is just joining me right now, and he's also going to be tracking this. So we do have team coverage with you right now as we track these strong and even severe thunderstorms moving through. The storm that we're tracking right now, this is in southern New Hampshire, and what we've been seeing over the past couple of hours are some of these stronger thunderstorms that are moving through, and they sometimes pulse is what we call them. So they might weaken momentarily and then they strengthen back up as they continue to move very quickly. There's just a lot of ingredients out there in the atmosphere today, which are producing these storms that could be potentially producing some tornadoes, including some rotation. There's enough shear in the atmosphere, which is basically winds going in all different directions, and that can help to produce some of these tornadoes. So to give you an idea of the area that we're tracking right now, this is closer to 107 near the Pawtuckaway State Park. So if you're in that area, now is not the time to be outside. Take it indoors. Go to the lowest level of your house. Stay away from windows if you can, and just seek shelter. Take your Boston 25 weather app with you, and you can listen to my voice as we're tracking these storms until you're in the clear once these storms move past. So as of right now, this is closer to the Deerfield Fair happens. This is in southern New Hampshire near 107. It's also close to Onway Lake near the Dearborn Forest. These are some of the areas that we're watching. If you're within this area right now, if you're familiar with this area, seek shelter inside and wait for this storm to pass. It's closer to the Mountain Road Trading Post. So this is in southern New Hampshire right now. Tornado warning in effect. And I do also just want to zoom out, and I'm going to go to another storm that we've been watching over the past couple of hours. This is where we have had a severe thunderstorm warning, and we've noticed some rotation within this storm. This is still a severe thunderstorm warning, but I also want to highlight that risk that we could see a potential tornado within this storm. If we start to see that tornado risk gets a little bit higher, then they will issue a tornado warning for this. As of right now, it's still a severe thunderstorm warning. This goes until 10:15. This is near the Fitchburg area, Leominster as well. This is closer to 2A and 31. And Tucker, you also are looking at something, the wind velocities within this, and can you give me an idea of what you're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we've been looking all day for some of that indication of rotation in our velocity. And this storm, you know, it's pretty far from the radar, so we're not seeing that high resolution couplet you might look for, where you have those two different velocities moving quickly side by side. And that's what we look for tornadoes to occur, is when you have those bright colors next to each other. But what I can say is if we take a look here, you are seeing at least some of that darker green and some of the lighter green side by side. Again, this is higher up in the storm, not quite near the surface because our radar isn't that close. So this is what you'd expect to see when there may be some rotation in the mid-levels, but stronger rotation closer to the ground. That's just undetectable. And we're watching that very closely today. One of the things actually I've been noticing today as well, and this is really indicative of the storm threat we've seen, is that you're not actually seeing a lot of lightning out there. And that's something that's been very notable. In most of these storms, there's been maybe a strike or two, but not a ton. And we often associate tornado threats, you know, with those gigantic storms. Some of those pictures you see from the Midwest, they're massive storms that produce tornadoes, but that's not always the case. And today, that's certainly not the case. One of the things that we're specifically watching today is the chance for these quick hitting spin-ups. You know, tornado warnings can be issued very quickly in this environment because we have a lot of wind energy, but not necessarily a ton of instability, which is what you think of when you think of those gigantic storms. Now, one of the things that's important, we're going to send it to our 10 a.m. to Jules really quick. We'll be right back with you.
All right, thank you. We have meteorologist Tucker Antico now, team coverage. He's joining meteorologist Vicki Graff as we continue to track severe weather in our viewing area. Again, as they mentioned, we do have a tornado warning in southern New Hampshire right now that's impacting Rockingham County, Stratford County, which is close to Nottingham, just north of Raymond. Tornado warning in that area. People in those communities, we want to remind you how to stay safe in these weather events. You need to go to the lowest level of your home, perhaps a basement, an inside room, anywhere without windows. You want to put as many walls between you and the outdoors as possible. This can be a bathroom, even a closet or a center hallway. If possible, you need to avoid sheltering in any room with windows. For some added protection, you can of course use something sturdy like a heavy table or a workbench to get underneath. Cover your body with a blanket, a sleeping bag, even a mattress, and protect your head with anything you have available. Now, if you happen to be outside or in a mobile home, you need to find the nearest building, preferably one that has a basement. If you're in your car, do not try to outrun a tornado. You need to find the nearest building and seek shelter on the lowest floor. Again, we're in continuing coverage right now. We're going to stay on the air until 10:15 a.m. at least. That's when the current tornado warning impacting southern New Hampshire is set to expire. Now, we're also tracking another storm here in Massachusetts. This is in central Mass, a severe thunderstorm warning. This is near Fitchburg and Leominster. Meteorologist Vicki Graff has said that they've noticed some rotation in this storm, which could potentially lead to a tornado. But again, no tornado warning just yet for central Massachusetts. Massachusetts, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning that we're tracking until 10:15 a.m. And again, we do have team coverage in this morning. Meteorologist Tucker Antico is here in studio, joining meteorologist Vicki Graff, who has been tracking the severe weather for a couple of hours now. Again, we did have some tornado warnings in Massachusetts that have since expired, but with new storm systems popping up, it is possible we'll be entering more severe weather. Again, that severe thunderstorm warning in central Massachusetts, and we have that tornado warning in southern New Hampshire. I want to bring in Tucker and Vicki now. Any updates that we're seeing with these storm systems out there?
You know, it's more of the same, like we were saying a moment ago. Yeah, not a ton of lightning, but these are quick hitting spin-ups because of all the wind energy out there. So right now it's still a tornado warning out there in southern New Hampshire. It's very close to Nottingham and moving to the northeast. Barrington certainly down the line also in that warning. So we're watching this very closely as it continues to move in the northeast direction here. And again, that is for parts of southern New Hampshire around Nottingham. One of the things that you need to be aware of, even if you're not in this warning, and this is again just owing to the environment out there, is that any location is in this environment that's favorable for tornadoes, and these can spin up very quickly. So even if you're not hearing the thunder and lightning, because these aren't massive storms, that certainly does not mean there can't be a tornado. So I want you to be aware, even though we're talking about specific locations where warnings are active right now, I want you to be aware across the entire area that today is a day when things can evolve very quickly.
Yeah, so just to reset things, if you're just tuning in right now, we have a tornado warning in effect. This is for parts of southern New Hampshire. We're tracking right now is this tornado warning that is over Northwood. This is in Rockingham County. This is near the Deerfield area. If you're familiar with this, this is closer to the Pawtuckaway State Park. So this is not the kind of day that you want to be outside. We're dealing with a very active weather. We have some very heavy rain moving through, and I have to say, if we have any tornadoes that are actually reaching the surface, they're going to be tough to see because these are rain wrapped. We're dealing with that really torrential rain that could lead to some flash flooding. That's also going to be a concern that we're tracking over the next couple of hours. But then you also have that damaging wind threat. We have had some reports coming through of some trees down across the area closer to Manchester, New Hampshire from earlier today. Because the ground is so saturated, it won't take a very strong gust of wind to cause some of these trees to fall down, especially trees that are not very healthy. So we could be looking at some power outages across the area, some road closures, not just from flooding, but also if more trees fall down. And then there is, of course, this risk for some tornadoes. Isolated tornadoes right now, what we're tracking right now is a Doppler indicated tornado warning. We have not been able to confirm that this tornado is on the ground right now, but this is closer to Northwood, Barrington, and Deerfield. It's right along parts of 202. We've been looking inside to see some of the tools that we have that we're able to see where the heaviest rain is, but also where the strongest wind is, where we could see some rotation. And then we also have some tools that we're watching to see if there could be any debris from these storms above the surface. Sometimes when you get a powerful storm, especially one that produces a tornado, sometimes you get that debris aloft that we can see with some of the tools that we're watching. And you've got to look at that storm as well, that we're tracking that tornado warning, but we're also keeping a close eye on another severe thunderstorm warning that's been across central Massachusetts. This is closer to the Fitchburg-Pepperell area right now. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, a very broad area of rotation, but we'll continue to monitor that. And Tucker, you've got a couple of tools on your computer there.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at some of our other severe storms as well, and the National Weather Service has at least noted on that severe storm. We're going to take you to it really quick. Both severe storms, actually, they have noted that there is a tornado possible. So that doesn't mean that it's a tornado warning, but it means they're watching it because each storm is at least exhibiting weak rotation. And as I mentioned before, on a day like today, things can evolve very quickly. So if we take a look at basically everything that's going on right now, you can see this one storm that is just to the well, actually, it's right over Fitchburg and just to the north of Leominster, moving in the direction of Pepperell. That's a severe storm right now. Wind gusts could be damaging, and we're going to very, very closely watch this for any kind of rotation. We also have the severe storm that is to the east of Manchester, right around Raymond, and of course our tornado warning, which is right near Nottingham. We'll take a look at this, and I've been watching radar, looking to see if we get any updates that suggest that the storm is doing anything differently. And right now, again, because it's a little bit farther from the radar, we're not getting a really high resolution look at it, but what you can see here is what we'd expect in a storm that's a little bit farther from the radar, where there is that diffuse rotation in the middle of the storm. storm, and that can lead to stronger rotation at the surface. You may not be hearing thunder and lightning either, by the way. These aren't massive storms, but we have a ton of wind energy, and on days like today, you don't need a gigantic storm to produce a tornado. Now, these tornadoes are likely to be quick hitters. You know, we call them spin-ups. You'll probably hear us refer to that a few times. That means weak tornadoes, but that doesn't mean to take the warnings any lighter, because you do need to take every tornado warning seriously. These will be strong enough to potentially, take a roof off a house still, no doubt about that. Even weak tornadoes can do that. But if you are heeding these warnings, which you absolutely have to be today, and that means heading to the lowest floor of your house, staying away from exterior walls and windows, you'll be okay. You just have to take those precautions and keep yourself safe on a day like today. I'll mention, I was just looking at our debris tracker, our correlation coefficient as we call it back here. It doesn't look like anything on there right now, but again, that's because this storm that we're looking at here in southern New Hampshire is pretty far from the radar, so it would be tough to detect that. But certainly there are signs that the storm is still rotating, and of course that's why we have the warning on it, which is still ongoing right now as this moves just outside of Nottingham and in the direction of Barrington.
And you bring up a good point. So right now, the storm that we're tracking, this is why we continue to stay on the air. This is for the tornado warning across parts of southern New Hampshire and Rockingham County. This is right over Deerfield, Northwood, Tuckaway State Park. This storm is far from Boston. It's also far from where the radar site is in this location, which is Gray, Maine. So sometimes with these storms, you tend to see tornadoes can literally fly underneath the radar. So right now, what we're using with our tools is we are noticing that this storm does have some rotation within it. This is moving close to Northwood right now. You can see right next to us on the monitor where you get these colors that have the red and the green. That represents the wind that's going towards and away from the radar site, and it tends to create this couplet or this rotation, and that's what we're noticing right now. So this is where we're concerned with a potential tornado on the ground near Northwood. It's east of Deerfield right now, right over 152. I'm just checking over. We're in touch with the National Weather Service just to see if they're getting any damage reports in. Also, they're the ones that issue the warnings, and that's our job, is to make sure that we are keeping viewers in our area safe. This tornado warning might not be close to where you are, but because we want to make sure that we are keeping these people in this area as safe as possible, that's why we are still on the air, and we were mentioning the tornado warning that is right over Rockingham and Strafford counties in southern New Hampshire. And this tornado warning goes until 10:15. We're watching this area right now that is in southern New Hampshire. We're starting to get some flood warnings also issued, and we have that severe thunderstorm warning that is across parts of Middlesex and Worcester counties. That warning expires at 10:15. It's been a storm that we've been tracking over the past couple of hours, and we've noticed some very broad rotation. So we'll continue to track that, see if that could possibly strengthen, if that rotation could tighten a little bit, and if that is a storm that we need to watch very closely.
And what you're looking at, you've been seeing those red and green colors on your map just around Northwood. That's an indication of rotation within a storm. We call that a couplet. So when you have those reds and greens side by side, you can think of it as like a spinning top, for example. If you spin a top in front of you, one side is going to be moving away from you, and the other side's going to be moving towards you at the same time. And that's basically what our radar's indicating here. Those green colors, that's the wind moving towards you. The red colors, that's the wind moving away from you, at least depending on where the radar site is. But no matter where you are, that means that you have two different wind directions in a small area. Of course, you would expect that when there's a tornado, something that spins violently. And something else that we've been watching, of course, is just how quickly these have been evolving. You know, today we've already had, we've had multiple warnings. I believe this is our third warning out today, and we've seen these come out very quickly because in the environment today, we have so much wind energy, things can spin up relatively fast, and that's what we're watching all of these storms very closely for. I even mentioned our severe storm warnings earlier. They aren't tornado warnings, but the National Weather Service has noted that they're watching them very closely for any tornadic development because, these can evolve in minutes with the amount of wind energy out there today. If we take a look at that storm, again, it is just outside Northwood now. So if you're in Raymond, I see Raymond in the morning here, you're in the clear from this storm. However, there is a severe thunderstorm moving through. So many of these locations, even once this initial round of rain and this a tornado warned storm moves through, you have a severe thunderstorm that is moving into the same areas right now.
And we're just seeing right now this new tornado warning. They have decided to issue a tornado warning for it. So this is a tornado warning. This is just coming through right now. This is for parts of Middlesex and Worcester counties until 10:30. So this is the storm we were just talking about. We've been watching this area. It's been a very broad area of rotation, but now this goes until 10:30, and this is the area that we're watching closer to Townsend, Pepperell, right along parts of Route 13. So if I'm listing out some places that you are nearby, please go to the lowest level of your house. Take your phone with you so you can get alerts. If you have our Boston 25 weather app, you can live stream this so you can hear our voices as we track these storms and also track where they're heading to. So right now, this is a new tornado warning. We have the one in southern New Hampshire we've been tracking, and then this one here, and you've got the wind velocity picked up on max 2 for that.
That's right.
To see.
Yeah, we're putting a tracker on this too so we can get an idea of exactly where it's headed. But what we're seeing again is that couplet, that green and red side by side. If we switch to max 2, you'll be able to see it more clearly here. There we are. So there's that green and red side by side. The radar looks like it's running into a little bit of what we call aliasing. It's looking at a lot right now in the storm, but basically where that green and red are side by side, that's where that rotation would be. You can see it is just south of Townsend. It is moving in the direction of Pepperell. So if you can think of where you are in Townsend, it's about 2 miles south, and it is about 5 miles to the southwest of Pepperell there. So make note of that if you are in that area, and make sure you're heading to the lowest floor of your house as always. Now, one of the things that we'll also look at really quickly here is our debris tracker, and the good news is at this present moment, I don't see anything that would suggest that a tornado is clearly on the ground, but we don't know for sure, and we want you to take precautions as if it is. So again, this storm is just south of Townsend right now. And by the way, this is a severe storm, so even if there was not a tornado, and there certainly could be, there are strong winds. I mean, you can see how dark those red colors are. This is a heavy downpour. There is a warning out right now, and I believe that warning is for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which is what we've seen through much of today, and I can confirm, yes, it's for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And again, this storm is warned for not just the wind, but that chance for a tornado. We had a tracker on it just a moment ago. I'll put another one on right here, and you'll be able to see that this thing is going to be moving into southern New Hampshire in the direction of Nashua if it continues to maintain its strength over the next hour. There's your tracker. Pepperell, Broadacres, Nashua there by about 11:06, moving northeast right now. The core of the storm is just south of Townsend, and again, we'll switch you back to our velocity too, and you can kind of see those greens and reds in there side by side, a sign that the storm is rotating. And I'll say it again, by the way, you're not seeing any lightning here, so don't expect you're going to hear tons of thunder, tons of lightning. Don't wait to hear a storm, but you need to be prepared to head down once you hear the warning, because you're really not going to hear much other than heavy rain, and by that point it's a little too late. So make sure, again, as these warnings come out, if you're in any of these warnings, severe or tornado, you're heading to a safe spot. And if it is a tornado warning, you absolutely need to be in the lowest floor of your house, away from walls and windows. It's not worth trying to get a look at it outside. You have to head down there now, especially with how quickly things are evolving today. And once again, you can see on our wind velocity here some of those brighter green and red colors side by side. We're going to send you to Jules really quickly here. We're here watching the storms for you in the meantime.
Thank you, Tucker. If you're just turning on your TVs, you're expecting Fox News Sunday. We're actually staying on the air, tracking some severe weather in our area. We have team coverage this morning with meteorologist Vicki Graff and meteorologist Tucker Antico, tracking a number of warnings, a number of storms in our area. Just into our newsroom, we did learn there's a tornado warning impacting Middlesex and Worcester counties. That is in effect until 10:30 a.m. Again, this is in central Mass, just south of Townsend and near Pepperell. Our meteorologists have noticed some rotation in the storm, and again, that area is now under a tornado warning impacting Middlesex and Worcester counties. It's a fast-moving storm. Vicki has been tracking it all morning, moving at about 30 miles per hour. But again, that community is now under a tornado warning until 10:30 a.m. Earlier this morning, we did
have another tornado warning impacting areas around Acton. We have a team out there right now. They have not noticed any damage, but there were some reports of a possible touchdown, possible tornado activity in Acton. Again, our crew is in Acton as we speak. They have not seen any damage yet, but they're looking into that right now. That was earlier this morning. Now, in addition to that storm in central Massachusetts, we're tracking another storm. There's another tornado warning in southern New Hampshire that's impacting Rockingham County and Strafford County, which is close to Deerfield and near Pawtuckaway State Park. So this is also north of Raymond. Now, that area is also under some flash flood warnings until about noon. Our meteorologist Sherry Spear is telling us that it's possible some areas could see 2 to 3 inches of rain in some spots. Now, I want to take a look outside live now at Ragged Mountain. This is in New Hampshire, Danbury, New Hampshire. We're tracking some rain in that area. Again, flash flood warning for a larger area, but there is a tornado warning in southern New Hampshire. So here's your live look now. This is Ragged Mountain again. We're tracking some rain in that area, Danbury, New Hampshire, and we do have that tornado warning in southern New Hampshire that's impacting Rockingham County and Strafford County as well. Now, we want to remind our viewers who live in these communities, central Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, your safety is top priority. Do not go outside to take pictures or videos during severe weather. You need to seek shelter. That is the #1 priority. And just to remind people what to do in the event of a tornado. If your community is under a tornado warning, if you live in Middlesex or Worcester counties or southern New Hampshire, you want to go indoors and avoid windows. Seek shelter inside a room at the lowest level of your home, preferably a basement, and again, away from any windows. This could also be a downstairs bathroom, even a closet. It's good to seek shelter under a sturdy item, perhaps a workbench, a heavy table. Put a mattress over yourself, a blanket, and protect your head. If you happen to be out on the road right now, you need to pull over. Do not try to outrun a tornado or severe weather. Seek shelter in the closest building possible. Again, we do have team weather coverage this morning with our meteorologists, Vicki Graff and Tucker Antico. I want to turn it over to them to see if there are any updates. We do have those 2 tornado warnings in our viewing area right now.
That's right. And so just to kind of reset the situation, we did have a tornado warning in effect for southern New Hampshire. This was in a different area. This was closer to Rockingham and Strafford counties. Well, now we've been tracking this other tornado warning that is across northern Massachusetts, closer to Pepperell and Townsend, and they have extended this. This is now for Hillsborough County in New Hampshire. This goes until 10:45. So that's to show you that this threat is now moving from Massachusetts into New Hampshire. To give you a closer idea, and I've taken the radar off this just so you can see what areas we're most concerned with. It's in that Townsend and Pepperell area, but now it's moving into Brookline, New Hampshire, Hollis, South Brookline, and eventually into South Merrimack. So those are the places that we're concerned with next. This is all part of the same storm. It's just that storm is now still holding together and it's moving into southern New Hampshire. So the area that we're watching right now, this is closer to Brookline, New Hampshire, Hollis, New Hampshire. If you're familiar with this area, seek shelter inside. Make sure you go to the lowest level of your house. If it's not a basement, it could be a closet, it could be a bathroom, but you do not want to be out on the roads driving at this time. This is closer to Winterberry Farm. Also, it's by, if you're familiar with the area, closer to the Andres Institute Sculpture Park. So if you're in this area right now, make sure you are seeking shelter inside. This new tornado warning, it's for parts of Massachusetts still. That goes until, let's see here, 10:30.
10:45.
10:45, and then extended one until 10:45. And you've been watching the couplet as it's moving from southern, or I should say northern Massachusetts into southern New Hampshire.
Yes.
So we've got that on Max 2.
That's right. Yeah, actually, this storm does have a pretty decent couplet, so we are seeing quite a bit of wind, and I'll move that for you so you can see a little clearer here. It is just to the north and east of Townsend right there. Again, this does have a good amount of rotation on it, so you need to be heading down into your basement. If you're anywhere in the morning, the National Weather Service was really good with this one and put it out well ahead of the storm, so you have some time. But you can see, again, that's for southern New Hampshire, just out, well, Brookline, you're in the warning. Hollis, you're in there too. South Merrimack and Amherst, you guys are just outside the warning, but I would be prepared just in case this gets extended further, because the storm is moving around 30 to 35 miles per hour. It is a quick mover, and I'll show you too what I'm looking at here, specifically those green and red colors, and I'll zoom in really close so we can get a really good idea. But what we're seeing is, again, this couplet right here, those green and red colors side by side, that wind moving opposite opposite directions rather quickly. And if there is a tornado, and we just got an update on our radar actually, so we'll follow this storm right here. It's right along the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. Again, that is just outside of Brookline, South Brookline right there. I'm going to point this out for you so you can see what I'm talking about. There's your green coloration right there. There's your brighter red coloration right here. Again, we call that a couplet. If there was a tornado on the ground right now, it would be right here, right along the border of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. That would be just to the south and east of Brookline. And if you're in Brookline, wondering exactly how close, about 2 miles to your south and east. And it is moving in the direction of Hollis right now. So extremely important if you're in Brookline, and especially Hollis, that you're down in the lowest floor of your house. A basement is ideal. If you don't have a basement though, just make sure you're on that lowest floor away from walls and windows. And this thing's moving 30 miles per hour to the north and east. Now we'll switch you to radar. One of the other things that we often look for is a hook, you know, kind of like a curling shape on our reflectivity, which is what you're used to, these greens, yellows, red colors. We're not seeing that right now, but this isn't your classic type of tornado setup. A lot of these tornadoes you wouldn't even be able to see because it's raining so much, and it's really blocking up our radar because there's so much that radar beam's detecting. So what we're seeing here are what we call embedded spin-ups, tornadoes that are embedded in these walls of rain and can be pretty quick hitters. You know, they can develop very quickly, and you know, for better, they can also dissipate very quickly. So this is a situation that's evolving very fast, and we're watching it minute to minute here in the Weather Center. We'll take a look at our debris tracker as well, and you are seeing some brighter colors there, but I don't believe that's debris. If anything, that could be some small hail in here as well. Nothing that stands out and says, yes, there's a tornado going on, but I can say at least there is some strong rotation. You know what? We actually have an area or two of rotation right here. There are 2 brighter spots, so we're watching everyone in this warning very closely. And what we can see, I'll point this out once again, what we can see here is some of that brighter red, some of that darker red side by side here. That's one area of rotation, and it really does look like we have a second here just to the south of it. So again, if you're anywhere in this warning, Brookline's one of those locations. Hollis, this storm's very close to you. There is only a little bit of lightning, so you may not be hearing a lot of thunder and lightning, but this is a strong storm. Don't let that fool you. South Merrimack down the line there, you are in the warning as well, and even outside the warning, places like Merrimack and Amherst, you should be prepared if this storm gets extended, this warning I should say, to head down to your safe place too.
And we also do have a new severe thunderstorm warning. This is for parts of Worcester County. This goes until 11 o'clock. So we're tracking this line of storms that's moving through, and we're starting to see within that line several storms that are starting to intensify. They're strengthening a little bit more. So this severe thunderstorm warning, I'm actually going to take the radar off so you can just see what area I'm referring to. It's this area in orange right here. This is where we do have a severe thunderstorm warning, and that includes North Brookfield, Princeton, Holden. I'm just going to take this off so you can see that extended area right now. This is just west of Worcester, but this is an area that we are watching for some possible damaging wind. I'm not noticing a very tight area of rotation right now, but that could change. So this is another storm that we're watching very closely, but the main ones, these are the tornado warnings that we are tracking. This threat now moving into southern New Hampshire. So they are going to allow that tornado warning across Massachusetts to expire here shortly. But this tornado warning, this was close to Brookline, Hollis in southern New Hampshire. This goes until 10:45, and this is a fast-moving storm. You know, Tucker had mentioned that this is not the type of storm that you're necessarily going to hear. We are seeing some thunder within this, so you might be hearing a little bit of thunder. But another thing is you won't be able to see a tornado necessarily because there's just intense rain coming down. So any tornadoes that develop, they could very easily be rain wrapped. Tough to see because of the intensity of the rainfall. I have to mention that flooding is still going to be an ongoing issue. If you're in the Boston area and you haven't been near some of these tornado warnings that we've been talking about all morning long, you're starting to see that rain just now, and it's picking up in intensity. We still have several hours of some really heavy rain to get through. So flash flooding is going to be an issue. We've had so much rain recently. The ground is really saturated. It's not going to take a very strong gust of wind to knock down some trees in our area. We'll be watching for that. We'll be watching for road closures, possibly some road washouts just because of the intensity of the rain on top of what we've had already so far, really just recently. So resetting the situation, we have a severe thunderstorm warning now for parts of Worcester County, and then we have this tornado warning, which is in effect for southern New Hampshire. And this tornado warning right now, we're just seeing some intense wind within this that could possibly producing a tornado that would be on the ground.
Yeah, and again, the rotation is actually becoming quite strong in this storm, so it is something that really, really needs to be taken seriously. If you're in Hollis, this is getting very close to you. Please, you have to be in your safe place. I don't want anyone taking risks with this one for sure, as the rotation is certainly quite notable. This storm would be just south of Hollis. At least if there was a tornado being produced, it would be not far to the south, about a mile or two south of Hollis, and this is continuing to move northeast. So again, Hollis, you have to be in your safe place, and we'll take a look a little farther down the line too at South Merrimack. You're next in line for this, so even though it's not right over your head, you are in this warning, and you have to be prepared for a potentially tornadic storm to move in your direction. Now, we just got an update on our velocity scan here. Velocity looks to have ticked down just a little bit, but certainly enough there that we can see that couplet. I just circled it in orange, and I'll move it so you can see it a little bit better here. There we are, just south of Hollis, like I was saying. In South Merrimack, you're not far from where this will be headed next. I mean, it could be there in about 5 to 10 minutes, and again, this is a quick evolving environment, so you need to be prepared at any point for a strong, potentially tornadic storm, given how close it is to move through. Now, we're seeing on our velocity too, just a ton of rain, seeing some lightning out there as well. So this storm is beginning to produce, and one of the signs that we can take from lightning being produced by storms is that updraft that fuels the storm is quite healthy. It's maintaining its strength. So I really wouldn't be surprised, and I know I've said this a few times now, but if you're farther down the line of this, Merrimack, you know, that's a very feasible place that this warning could be extended. We'll put a tracker out here for you over the next 30 minutes. You can get an idea of where this may be headed beyond the warning. Again, South Merrimack there, Thornton's Ferry, Goffs Falls there as well, Merrimack itself, certainly in the path of this as the storm continues to move. And in the next 45 minutes, we can perhaps add a few more places to this. Manchester, again, 45 minutes out, we can't say for sure it will maintain its strength that far out of here, but it certainly has the potential, given we're seeing it maintain its strength so well. And anybody on that list or to the south and west of Merrimack, even in the Merrimack area, you should be prepared that a potentially tornadic storm is going to move through. And again, we just got that update on radar. Still not seeing that classic look, which we really wouldn't expect today, but on our velocity, you can see at least there are some brighter reds, and there are a little bit of greens, or at least darker reds side by side. Again, either works. Those are both signs of rotation, and we can see this right here just to the south of Hollis and likely moving through the town right now. We'll take a look at our debris tracker really quick as well, but once again, we're not seeing anything on debris tracker, which is a good sign, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing's on the ground. It just means that perhaps the radar is scanning part of the storm that's a little bit too high.
So we are about to hit 10:30 here, but just before we do, I just want to reiterate that we do have a tornado warning in effect. This is for parts of southern New Hampshire. They have allowed the tornado warning to expire for Middlesex County now that the threat is moving into southern New Hampshire. So this tornado warning goes until 10:45. This is in Hillsborough County. The area we're specifically watching right now, this is in Hollis, right along parts of 122. It's just west of Nashua, heading eventually towards Milford. But to give you an idea, this is near Silver Lake State Park, Spalding Park Town Forest. So if you're within that vicinity, make sure you're seeking shelter in the lowest level of your home, whether it's a basement, a closet, or a bathroom. This is a fast-moving storm. It's rain-wrapped, and we're seeing some lightning within this. And Jules, you have an update as well?
Yeah, Vicki, thank you. If you're just turning on your TVs at home and you're surprised to see us, we are tracking some severe weather in our area. We have team coverage this morning with meteorologist Vicki Graff and meteorologist Tucker Antico. Again, we have tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings in our area. Most recently, a tornado warning for parts of southern New Hampshire. That is set to expire at 10:45, so for at least the next 15 minutes, impacting communities such as Brookline and Hollis in New Hampshire. There are also a number of flash flood warnings in that area until about noon. Our meteorologists are detecting potential for 2 to 3 inches of rain in some spots. So again, that tornado
tornado warning in parts of southern New Hampshire until 10:45. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning in Worcester County until 11 a.m., specifically close to communities like Charlton, Holden, Southridge, and Spencer. We also had a crew in Acton earlier this morning. We were detecting a tornado warning there with possible touchdown. Right now, our teams aren't seeing any damage, but they're going to stay in Acton and assess the situation there. But we do want to remind our viewers tuning in that safety is a big priority here. Do not go outside and take pictures or videos during severe weather. You need to seek shelter, especially if you are in southern New Hampshire right now where there is a tornado warning. Members of our team live in New Hampshire. They are sheltering in their basements, and that is the best place you can be. So some quick advice for you if you are in that area with a tornado warning. You need to get to a safe spot, the lowest level of your home, preferably a basement or someplace away from any windows, perhaps a bathroom, a center hallway, even a closet would work. You should shelter, again, away from any windows and try to get under some protection, something sturdy like a heavy table, a workbench, anything that can add some added protection for you. Cover your body if you can, perhaps with a blanket, a sleeping bag, even a mattress, and protect your head with anything you have available. Now, if you happen to be outside your home or in a mobile home, you need to get inside the nearest building as soon as possible, preferably with a basement. If you're in a car, do not try to outrun a tornado. Instead, you need to pull over and find the closest building and get to a basement or a safe spot. Again, at this hour, we do have a tornado warning for parts of southern New Hampshire until 10:45. Communities like Brookline and Hollis in New Hampshire. We also are tracking a severe thunderstorm warning in Worcester County until 11 a.m. Communities like Holden, Spencer. And again, your safety is a big priority here. We're going to stay with you until the threat is over. And we do have team coverage this morning. Meteorologist Vicki Graff, meteorologist Tucker Antico have been tracking these storms all morning. I want to turn it over to them to see if there have been any new developments in these storm systems that we're tracking.
We're still watching this area, still a decent area of rotation right now. This is near Hollis. This is also in the vicinity of Silver Lake State Park. So if you live within this area, if this is part of your community, make sure you are seeking shelter in a safe place of your home. This tornado warning goes in effect through 10:45, and this has been really holding on to its intensity, its rotation over the past, I would say, 10 minutes or so while we've been tracking it. So I expect that they will likely extend this warning as we continue to track as it's heading towards Merrimack and eventually South Merrimack as well. So it is a fast-moving storm. There's some thunder within this, but I think what you'll notice is just the torrential rain. You'll likely be hearing that if you're in this area. Don't wait to try and get video or a picture of a tornado. Make sure you're seeking shelter. The most important thing is staying safe in this type of event. It has been something that we're starting to notice in recent years that we're seeing more tornadoes around here, but still, if you're not familiar with tornadoes, a tornado warning means that there is a tornado that's potentially imminent over you right now. So seek shelter in the safest place of your home. Wait for this storm to pass and go to a safe place in your home, which is away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside. And it's good to have some source, whether it's your Boston 25 weather app, so you can still hear where the storm is, where it's heading, and when you're in the clear from that storm. I realize that this storm is impacting a lot of folks in southern New Hampshire, which is part of our viewing area. So it might not be folks in the Boston area, but our number one goal is to just keep people safe that are in the path of this storm. It's a fast moving storm. We still do have a tornado watch for a good portion of our area until 3 o'clock this afternoon, and conditions will be changing over the next couple of hours. So I want to make sure that you're prepared for that. You are up to date with the latest weather information. Try avoid going out on the roads right now. Not only are we tracking this tornado warning, but we have some intense rainfall coming down, and flooding is also going to be a concern over the next couple of hours. So I would just recommend staying inside, wait for these storms to pass. We have several more hours with some very heavy rain. Flooding is going to be an issue. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some trees down due to just the ground being so saturated and any gusts of wind that could be taking those down. We're seeing some lightning within this storm, but that's not a top concern. You just don't want to be outside as this is moving through. The torrential rain, visibility is lower across the area. You don't want to be out driving if you can avoid that. That heavy rain pretty much moving from west to east, and we still have that concern for these storms that would be rotating. We also, I do want to mention, we have a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm just going to go back to that one. This is over Worcester County right now. We're not detecting much as far as major wind rotation within this. The area that I'm tracking right now, this is actually closer to Sturbridge and Southbridge, Holland, Brimfield. That's where we could be dealing with some stronger wind within this storm. So that's why we have a severe thunderstorm warning for this. It's a large area. It extends into parts of Connecticut, but we're watching as that storm moves northeast. We'll have to wait and see if there could be any rotation that might start to get a little bit stronger and tighter as that storm is moving through.
Yeah, and I will say, speaking of rotation, it does look to be a little more diffuse right now. We still have a tornado warning. You absolutely need to be taking those precautions, but I'm not confident the National Weather Service will extend this warning, at least not the way it looks right now. That said, we've been saying it all day, and this goes for any of you that are not in this warning. You know, you may be thinking, okay, that's pretty far away from me, doesn't matter. Well, today's one of those days where almost our entire area is in a tornado watch, and things are evolving very quickly out there. So you do have to be aware, you have to be alert, and you have to know what's going on outside. So that's what we're doing for you here. We're keeping you updated, and of course, we're trying to fill you in with exactly what we're seeing so that you can follow along just like we are on our radar here. And I'll actually take you back to that storm here. It's right around South Merrimack. That's where we're seeing the strongest rotation. Again, a little more diffuse right now, which is a good sign, but this storm is still moving into some more populated areas. Again, Merrimack, Bedford, even Manchester in about the next 30 to 45 minutes. It's going to pass through many of these areas. Manchester, for reference, it would move in around 11:05 a.m. And if we take a little bit of a closer look at this, we'll be able to see exactly that area of rotation I was referring to, and we'll move it right to our north here. You can see some of those brighter pink and darker red colors side by side. Again, that's what we're looking at for potential rotation. And if there was a tornado, it would be somewhere right here in that circle I just drew for you as this continues to move to the northeast. If we take a look at our radar as well, what we're seeing is for lack of a better term, kind of a mess of a bunch of rain and really just downpours everywhere. You know, this is something that you really need to be aware of because it's not something you'll see. Don't try to go outside and take pictures of it. I know that's a big thing, especially these days, but I can tell you for sure, first of all, it's not worth it. And second of all, you're not going to see anything. It's raining very hard. It's gray outside. You know, visibility is certainly being reduced by the rain, and this tornado, if it's on the ground, would be completely invisible to you. If we take a look at our debris tracker, again, we've been watching this very closely too. This would give us an idea of whether or not the storm's lifting anything up. And the good news is that there is nothing at least being detected by radar on our debris tracker. And by the way, you're seeing a bunch of red here, just so you know what you're looking at. What the radar's doing with the debris tracker is it's sampling an area, and if you have a lot of that red coloration, that's good. That means the radar's saying, okay, I'm seeing nothing but raindrops in this one spot. These particles are well correlated. We call this correlation coefficient scientifically for that reason. You know, if we were going to see any kind of debris though, what you'd see is sort of a green or even blue bullseye, and that would be splinters perhaps being mixed into a storm cloud. And the radar would sample that area and say, okay, I got raindrops here and splinters here as well. Those objects are nothing like each other, and it'll add that little bullseye for you, and that's how we would interpret our debris tracker. It tells us whether or not the particles in the cloud are similar to one another. Again, they do appear similar, which means the radar is just hitting raindrops, and that's the way we want to keep it. Again, we have this warning, which is still in effect. However, if you are in places like if you are in Hollis, that rotation has moved past you, but there is still a lot of heavy rain, certainly some wind out there too. If you are in Merrimack, on the other hand, or South Merrimack, the storm is just beginning to move through and into your area. It looks like we just got a new radar scan, and we'll take a look at our velocity. Still very diffuse. I do think it's likely that this warning will not be extended, but because it's still active, we're going to stick with you here, and of course we're going to make sure we're keeping you safe and updated with the latest. But again, you can see at least what we're seeing right now. Some of those brighter colors side by side, well, they're a little more diffuse, and that's the best way to put it. I'll circle this area. It's a really broad area of rotation now, not a tight couplet like we'd expect, and that's a sign that perhaps, at least temporarily, this rotation is beginning to weaken. Now, that said, it's still a very busy radar and a busy day, and things can evolve very quickly, and it sounds like we have Shiri on the phone.
That's right, and Shiri, our entire Boston 25 weather team has been helping, so we've had the team coverage for you today. Shiri helping from home, Kevin helping as well, just making sure we're staying up to date on the latest information as well as storm reports coming through. And I believe we have Shiri on the phone, where Shiri has been taking cover because of this storm right now.
Yeah, hey guys. Definitely, I've been watching you from home, and luckily I actually have a TV in my basement, so I've been able to continue to follow you here and on the app as well. But we did go under a tornado warning a little while ago at my house. I'm actually in the Hollis area, and we had plans to drive to Brookline. Obviously, we've had to delay those a little bit because we're in our basement. But just, you know, a reminder to always play it safe, guys. Hopefully you have your safe space, and if you don't have a basement, it's an interior room. We want you to stay away from the windows. That's always a good idea. Staying away from the plumbing is a good idea. A little while ago, we actually heard a lot of thunder right before we went under the tornado warning. I'm not hearing any thunder. I don't know if it's because there's not much lightning out there now or because I'm in the basement and just kind of far removed from it, but there was definitely heavy rain. On a side note, we would never ask you to go outside in a severe weather situation to take any photos. That is definitely nothing that I've tried to do today. That would not be a safe situation. And honestly, so many of these storms, as you can see on radar, have really intense rain, so we wouldn't see it anyways. But just kind of reminding you and trying to lead with a positive example of the whole family is in the basement. Can't say the husband and the kids are very excited to be down here trapped with nothing to do for a little while, but we're just playing it safe. I do think the rotation has actually passed by my house, but until the tornado warning is expired, we're just going to hang tight in the basement. So, you know, hopefully that will happen soon. But it's been a really active morning. It's been a kind of crazy morning, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it certainly has been an active morning, and we're happy to hear that you guys are okay, of course. That warning is still active, and of course, the rotation, like we were saying, I mean, it was pretty good not long ago as that storm moved through. Likely a lot of strong wind out there, too.
And I'm just looking, we chat with the National Weather Service both in Boston and also in Gray, Maine, where they control some of the counties that we have in southern New Hampshire. And as of right now, they're allowing that tornado warning to expire in southern New Hampshire. So this is the one that will expire at 10:45. This is the storm we've been tracking that's moving over Hollis. But what we're tracking after this still is we do have a severe thunderstorm warning, and this is for parts of Worcester County. This goes until 11 o'clock. And as we've been mentioning over the past couple of hours, that these storms we've noticed as this entire line is moving through, they tend to sometimes weaken a little bit. So the rotation maybe fizzles out, but then it starts to get a little bit more intense. It strengthens, and we see that rotation getting a little bit tighter, which is when there's more of a concern for a tornado. So even though the tornado warning is going to expire at 10:45, we still have this severe thunderstorm warning in effect. We're looking at some stronger wind right now, closer to, it was near Southbridge, and right now it is closer to the Brookfield area, Warren, North Brookfield and Spencer. So that's just something that we're going to keep a close eye on. As of right now, it looks like damaging wind is the main concern here. We're not noticing what we call that couplet, that area of where there could be rotation, but there could still be some stronger wind. And even after the tornado warning expires, this line is still moving through, and it's going to be here for several hours. So once we get off the air, it's one of those things where we want to keep you safe. We want to keep you informed. So we are ready to hop on the air at any moment if we see any of these storms strengthening, if we see there could be the concern for a tornado warning again, if we see any more rotation over the next couple of hours. I want to make sure that you are prepared for quickly changing weather conditions. Be prepared for really heavy rain. Flooding is still going to be an ongoing concern throughout the afternoon and evening. There still is the concern for some damaging wind. There could be some trees down. We're still watching for any rotation within these storms, thunder and lightning. It's just one of those days where, because it's so active weather-wise, stay inside if you can. Make sure you're ready to go in case you do lose power. So have your phones charged and ready to go, have batteries ready to go, and just avoid traveling on the roads because they're going to be a mess for you this afternoon. Jules?
All right, thank you, Vicki. And for anyone who's just turning on their TVs and they're surprised to see us, we are in extended coverage tracking some severe weather in our area. We have team covered morning with Vicki Graft and meteorologist Tucker Antico here in studio. We also have meteorologist Sherry Spear on the line. Her home was just under a tornado warning that has recently expired. That was impacting southern New Hampshire. It was set to expire right now, but they called it a little earlier. Again, those areas are still under a flash flood warning, though. That's till about noon. Sherry, you're right in the heart of it all. Can you describe what the weather's like right outside your house for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a little while ago, we definitely had some pouring rain. We heard a lot of thunder. I'm in the basement right now, so I can't tell if there's still any thunder. It doesn't look like there's very much lightning. And strangely enough, a lot of these tornado warnings would come from a thunderstorm, and we haven't had a ton of thunder and lightning out here this morning. But we went under a tornado warning a little while ago. Tornado warning set to expire at 10:45. So I just told my family that they're in the clear, and most of them just went upstairs from the basement. But always important to remind you to have a safe space in mind. If you have a basement, that's a great spot. If you have to go to an inside room of your house, that's a good idea. Staying away from windows and plumbing and electrical is also smart if you do happen to go under a tornado warning today, because the atmosphere is essentially primed to give us some more rotation with these storms. So everybody needs to be very weather aware. The other thing I can say, I'm lucky enough that we actually had a TV in the basement, so I could follow along with Tucker and Vicky on air, as they've been doing a great job tracking all these storms. But if you don't have a TV and you kind of feel that urge that you want to stay near the TV and you want to hear what's going on, and that makes you feel safe, just a reminder, that Boston 25 weather app is awesome in a situation like this, because you can actually stream us live and you can take that to your safe space and hear us tell you when you're in the clear. So it's all about making sure you guys are safe and comfortable, leading by example. I've been in my safe space here for about 15 minutes, and hopefully we won't get too many more warnings today, but that is certainly a possibility that we're going to have to just stay aware of, right?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Sherry. I do want to also remind our viewers the difference between a watch and a warning. If you're not clear about the difference there, a watch means that all the ingredients for severe weather are in place. Be prepared to take action. A warning means everything's in place and you need to take action immediately. So again, a number of tornado warnings that have expired this morning. We are still under severe thunderstorm warnings in Worcester County until 11 a.m. And again, some of those warnings for tornadoes have now turned into watches until 3 o'clock this afternoon. And we know the weather can change minute by minute. So if they do develop into a tornado warning, which is of course more severe than that watch language, we're going to tell you, and we're going to be right here with you, of course. So I want to thank again meteorologist Tucker Antico, meteorologist Vicky Graff have been working hard tracking the severe weather. We are going to toss it back over to Fox News Sunday, but we're going to stay here in studio. If any more severe weather develops, we'll be right here tracking it for you.
We now join our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.